Hello, hello. Okay, I think we might have some success there. I have no idea what happened, but we lost our normal input capture. So you guys do let me know if there is some audio working. Sorry about that. That's very unusual, but there we go. I've had some funny things going on with Streamlabs these last few days. There we go. Okay, good. Yes. Yeah, I've had a few funny things with Streamlabs. But it seems to be making some strange issues with audio. But there we go. We are here. Great. Thank you all for coming along, and apologies for that start. Great to see you here. Welcome to another live stream with me, 320 Sim Pilot. And today we are going back to the channel roots. For those of you who weren't here, we started the channel, I think it was around April or May time. Actually, April it must have been. And we were mostly flying around using the ToLiss A321, flying a lot of different holiday routes and sort of hopping around Europe. And it's been a little while since we've done that in the ToLiss. Our last one was Innsbruck, of course, using the X-Plane 11 and ToLiss. But today I want to take this I will leave your opinions on livery up to yourselves, actually, and I'll talk about it a bit on the way. But this My Travel livery, which has been really kindly recreated by one of our many talented livery artists out there, so the link is in the description if you would like it for your ToLiss. We are going to take the CFM engines. I originally said IAE, but that was my fault. I didn't realize that until I was looking this up today that they only had CFM, which is why this livery has the orange CFM engines. And we're going to take it from here in Birmingham, somewhere we haven't flown from, funnily enough, and Andy H1302 I see is quite happy about that, Birmingham being his hometown. And we're going to take it down to Malaga. So quite a long flight today. Flight time of I think it's about 2.5 hours. Because obviously Malaga being sort of the south coast of Spain, near to Gibraltar, really. It's the alternate for Gibraltar, typically. So here we are. We're on stand. We've got a few colleagues around. I can see there's a first choice over there. I think that EasyJet is pushing back off to Edinburgh, and Alitalia that's maybe coming with us. And it looks like a Monarch's joined in as well, which is excellent. So yeah, this channel, I've often used defunct UK charter airlines for the holiday companies. It's what I grew up being very lucky to have a chance to fly on as a kid when I was growing up, so I have a fond memory of most of these airlines, and I continue to exploit that the fact that I have this channel to enjoy flying these liveries around and giving them a bit of a new lease of life, I like to think. So yeah, we're going to take My Travel down. We'll talk about the airline's history, but we're going to use the Kestrel call sign because that's what they used previously. Air Tours, of course, before that, which has also appeared on this channel before. As you can see, we are boarding. Couldn't get the jet bridge to attach, sadly. It broke today, so we're doing the old trick of getting some stairs and having the passengers walk out the terminal that way and up the stairs on board. Pretty much loaded and ready to go, but the plane is still cold and dark, so we'll do a full setup like the good old days. Thank you very much for coming along. I'm just joining in the chat. Jimmy A, thank you. Chick Point, I hope you make it back. Waiting for delivery, oh dear. Johannes Alaska says looking forward to it. Glad to hear it. Charlie, hello to you. Bacon Warrior, thanks for coming along as always. Richard V, thanks for coming and moderating along with Yes Papa. Really good, kind of you guys. Great to see you all here. Loads of names. Azal, thank you for coming. Hope you're doing well. AC455, Andrew Bjorn, Mark, thank you for coming. I hope you're all doing well. Yes, new Microsoft Flight Simulator update coming later, so good day not to be streaming that, I suppose, which was a sheer coincidence, but yeah, that is good, actually. Lee Ellis, good to see you. Good afternoon. Going to join in at first choice. 767, says Lee Ellis. That must be Lee Ellis then over there in the, is that a 76? Yeah, it does look like a 767. Excellent, excellent. First choice, one of the similar sort of airlines that we've used on this channel before. Good to see you, Tom. Great to have you here. Wild Womble, I hope you're doing well. Domingo Da Vinci as well, thank you for coming along. Lethan says, made it for another live stream, all doors checked, tow bar and bypass pins connected, chocks removed, waiting for the go. We're not quite there yet, but we will be soon. Chief Sim Pilot, thank you for coming along as well. I hope you're doing well. Thank you, Chief Sim Pilot, another YouTuber and a member of the Simwings community support and streamer as well. So thanks for coming along, Chief Sim Pilot. I hope you're doing very well. Great to see you here. What I'd Womble is wants extra legroom. Okay, there are no extra legroom seats available on this airplane, I can promise you that. We've crammed in quite a few passengers today. Joseph Mitchell, hope you're doing well. And Van Raj, thanks for coming along. And I will apologise now, I'm going to run out of time just to talk through all the names, but yeah, great to see you all here. Kai, I can see, is coming along. Simon Fisher, Oscar, Swiss Pilot, great to see you. Udon Plays, Gamescope, good to have you here. Domingo Da Vinci has a pending order for the Thrustmaster Airbus pack. We will see. Hopefully you're doing well. I'm doing very well, and that's great to know. Oh, it's Paddy here as well. Thanks for coming, Paddy. Paddy, our livery artist behind the incredibly well-received, and rightfully so, Manta Retro livery in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Ed Haslam, thanks for coming along as well. Looking forward to it. Okay, let us jump in. Emco says, you speak too fast. Usually people speaking fast are doomed. Yeah, I do speak fast at the start. I must slow down. I appreciate that. Charlie is back. Excellent. Malaga YouTube just got off work to final live stream. Good timing. Excellent timing. Charlie Fox, good to see you. So here we go then. A few colleagues around here in Birmingham. This livery has grown on me the more I've sat and stared at it while waiting to start, I must admit. So let's jump into the flight deck. Avitab started up, of course, but the plane is cold and dark, so I am going to work the usual ToLiss magic. Let's get it powered up. So we're going to start, engine masters off, most sectors norm. Landing gear down, both wiper selectors are off, batteries nice high voltage, so let us, oh, and of course the weather radar is off. Still wish we could remove this armrest or make it pop up and out of the way, but there we go. I think these seats are a little bit far back compared to where you would sit in the actual aircraft. That's my assessment of it, but I would say probably it's required in a simulator to get enough view of all the instruments, whereas then obviously in real life we have peripheral vision, plus you can move your eyes around a lot more easily. But there we go. So let's power it up. I'm looking forward to this lovely weather here in Birmingham for the flight out, so that's good news. We're not going to go econ flow these days. Batteries are on, external power can come on now, and we'll let it warm up. All the fans will come to life. Let's brighten up some of these screens. Yeah, really, really crisp, cold, sunny day in the UK today. Looks like Birmingham is getting the same sort of treatment, which is good news. Oh, not like that. I do that a lot. There we go. So we're going to crank up all the screens. Maximum brightness. Any sort of sunny day, you'll have them on maximum brightness. Basically, any daylight, to be honest, because even in the clouds, you'll have them maximum. It's only as the evening wears on that you'll start to turn those down. Yeah, there we go. Let's get the FOs up and bright as well. I'm not sure what air traffic control we're going to have. We may get some Birmingham control. We may not. We shall see. Mustis says, my travel is my favourite. Excellent. Excellent. Good to hear it. We are flying online, Arian. Yeah, we will be. We will be indeed. Thomas says, why aren't you using the jet bridge? Sadly, I can't make it work on this. I did try with the scenery and animation manager, but yeah, didn't work. So that's probably something I'm doing, but we shall see. Beacon is off, fuel flow is off, so I think it... this is default scenery as well. Okay, so let us... it's warmed up. Run the APU fire test. That's good. So we're going to pretty much just get underway. So in real life, yeah, if we were happy, we would start up the APU at this point. No point waiting around for no reason. Here it comes. Right, let's do our flows. Everything looking reasonable. That doesn't function, I don't think, but the ground control does, which is good news. Let's align the IRSs. Hello to Radhakrishnan. Thanks for coming along. Pow Gaming says, I tried VATSIM yesterday, departing in uncontrolled airspace and having a controller guide me to my star to a successful landing was great. The next flight I messed up my departure and things went down. Well, it varies, but yeah, good on you for trying, and yeah, keep at it. Keep calm, keep it straightforward, as simple as you can, but great to hear people having a go on VATSIM. Just, yeah, good tip from Van Raj, which is avoid crowded airspace. Jamlin is on ground. Thank you so much. That's great to know, Jamlin. Thank you for coming along and controlling for us. Brittany Silver, good to see you. Thanks for coming, as always. Hope you're doing well. Wobbles says, with the BSS sound pack for 321, it overlaps the NEO engine sounds. Do you have a solution? My solution at the moment, sadly, is I'm just using the default sounds, but they did improve the default sounds recently, but no BSS today. Cam, A321, good to see you. I hope all is well with you, and I'm doing very well. Thank you. Warrior good to see you. Warrior says, not flying along in my Alpaca Cargo A300 today as I'm waiting for the Microsoft Flight Simulator UK update. Very good. Yeah, very good. Right, so they are now aligning. Let's move down here. Strobes to auto. Nav lights definitely can come on. Not a requirement, as I always say, but yeah. I suppose if we were flying down to Malaga and back at this time of day in the middle of winter, we would expect it to be dark when we get back, so I would want to check them on the walk around, certainly. No smoking to auto, emergency exit lights to arm, and seatbelts can go on because I've got my 12.5 tons of fuel on. So we should have just started to use the center tank. There you go, just a little bit of fuel into the center tank. This isn't actually ideal. Having a little bit of fuel in there can sometimes cause more headaches than not having it, but we'll talk about that as we go. Good stuff. Right, yep. keep these temperature controls as they are. In fact, plane's cold and dark, so let's warm it up a little bit. Sometimes we do that just to sort of force it to heat up a bit quicker. I don't know whether it works. I don't know whether it's like if you change your heating at home and you just increase the temperature massively on the thermostat. I don't know whether it actually makes it happen faster or not. But I tell you, it makes you feel better if you set them like that. Good stuff. And we would do the electric battery check, but I can't do it on the screen. Right, engine fire tests. All looking good. And what is good news today is I'm using version, this would normally be on as well actually, I'm using version 1.2.2. So this is finally the latest version. I got it wrong last time. I hadn't updated properly by mistake. So yeah, great news. This panel we can leave as it is. Cargo looks like it has heating. You lucky guys in the cargo hold. Yeah, so good stuff. Right, moving along here, we're going to have arc. Just wind the range in. We're going to do a lot more with that. I think we're going to stop at 6,000, but I'm just going to set 5.9 until I know that for sure. Constraint on both sides, please. And we've got VOR selected. That's good. We're going to set the QNH, but I need to get the weather to do that. Down here then, let's turn on the radio panels. As I've also said before, we wouldn't ever turn those off, to be honest with you. I've never done that. Never seen an airline that does. They just power off with the airplane. But good stuff. Gravity gear extension is down. And let's do a check of the oil. Oh, look at that. Different oil levels. That's good. Nice little detail. I like that, yeah. 18, 17 and a half. Looks good. And hydraulics. All level. Nice. And oxygen. Lots of oxygen. Not in a NEO today, so just the one oxygen bottle. So we've got to share that much oxygen today if we have to use it. And let's brighten up this one just for completeness. And that will be on flight plan for takeoff. Right, there we go. And he says, it was -6 when I left for work this morning. My car looked like something out of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Yeah. Oh dear, that is bad. That must be impossible to even drive at that stage. Goodness me, yeah. Grows the Moon, good to see you. Thanks for coming along. Sal Cobb, thanks for coming, says, what does Econ Flow do? Econ Flow is just when you don't have many passengers, you can press this and it will actually reduce the load on the bleed air. So it will pump a little less air through the cabin. But ventilation is obviously very important at the moment for obvious reasons. So I wouldn't be using that most likely. But I'm sure airlines will have their own procedures. But yeah, so when it's a really empty airplane, you might turn that on and it should be a little bit more efficient. There is another one in the other aircraft. It's either Econ Flow. Sometimes it's called Flow, low, norm, high. But there you go. Pilot Stud, thanks for coming along. Good to see you here. Another YouTuber. And yeah, Microsoft Flight Simulator UK World Update dropping today. Everyone's very excited. Put your car in dev mode and turn off the icing effect, says Mr. Chippy. There we go. There's some good advice. Right, there we go. So, time to do the old MCDU stuff. So, no ACARs for us today. So we'll go to aircraft status and AirX title 2101. So that is the correct one. That's lucky. Good stuff. Good stuff. We'll go to, so that's diff, data, init, EGBB. I must admit, I've gotten very spoilt by the fly-by-wire mod being able to just download all of this stuff. I do enjoy that. Our alternate is going to be Madrid, LEMD. Our flight number is MYT, my travel, obviously, 253. But as I said, call sign for the MYT is Kestrel. Cost next today of just 11, cruising at 350. Pretty heavy for takeoff, I think. Right, there we go. Now it's asking us to align the IRS. It should do it automatically in a GPS airplane or a modern GPS airplane like this. But there we go. We've done it now. Right, that is init A. Oh yeah, it's not. Let's get that wind in there as well. Then flight plan. So they're going to be using 1.5 for departure, and I'm expecting, as I flight plan via Luxto, the Luxto 1.5 departure. I can put this to plan already, and it should show us, yeah, even though it's not aligned, pretty good for that. There we go, out to Luxto. From Luxto, we're going to take the airway, November 92 to It John. Again, these are all waypoints that I haven't heard of. I'm hoping this is right. We shall see. November 862 to Lamat. Then November 90 Oh, that way. There we go. November 90 to Notro. Upper Mike 30. Oh, it's nice when the airways are like this. I really like it when you can just keep going through without having sudden directs in there. If it's all direct or it's all airways, then that's really, really nice and easy. When it's mixes between the two, it can become a bit of a difficult one. You have to keep going backwards and forwards. Number 864 to Volpe, which is the start of the arrival. There we go. Just one page. Fantastic. That was nice. And we can just check through that in the plan, just to check for any sudden changes or anything that looks a bit silly. Always good to do. Sort of, pilots will often call it a gross error check. So we just scroll through like that, and there we go. There's our arrival. So I can choose that now. I'm expecting to do RLS Zulu onto 13 via Volpe, obviously. The Volpe 2 kilo. Insert, and then we'll figure out the rest of that as we're on the way. Good stuff. That says 979 miles. If we go to Avitab, oh, it does tell us the distance, 979. So it's worth checking against your flight plan that you have actually put the right route in. So yeah, it doesn't have the time working yet. It's not quite ready with the performance because the airplane can't actually compute how long it's going to take until it knows the weights and so on. But there we go. There's flight plan, secondary flight plan. Let's do a copy. And just in case we have any trouble on departure, I'm going to do a, if I select next to Luxo, put new destination of Birmingham. And they're using 15, so I'll just have the RLS 15. There we go. So if we need to come back, I can just activate that and come back in on the RLS. RadNav page now. So diff RadNav. Let's take a look. What's going to be useful leaving here on that departure? Well, we need the 1101 IBIR. That's used for these first turns as a backup. Again, you get away without it, but you can see it's tuned automatically. But yeah, I want to display it. So I'm actually going to do 110.1. Put it in there and display it, and it should give us a DME as we get going. So there we go. Don't need anything else. Not going to bother with that NDB. We're going to be visual the whole time anyway, to be honest with you. Finally, init B. Just a quick jump into the chats. Lutatho says, when will the update drop? I really have no idea, I'm afraid. No idea. Wobble says, can you explain what EPR is with the IAE engines? EPR is engine pressure ratio. So we have N1 today because we are in CFM. Like I say, that's the correct engines for this livery. So it's my mistake to suggest the other one. But yeah, so we have N1, which is this percentage of the fan speed at the front. EPR is just a pressure ratio. It's a Rolls-Royce thing that they used, and Rolls-Royce were involved in the IAE engines, but any Rolls-Royce jet engines you'll typically see use EPR. And it's just measuring the pressure at the intake of the engine and comparing it to the pressure at the outlet or at some point later on in the engine. And that's how it judges how much thrust it's producing. But any EPR aeroplane will still show N1. And to be honest with you, pilots who fly with EPR engines will often look at the N1 more anyway. It's just one of those things. Yeah. So that's what it is, but it's rarely used. It's sometimes used for limits and so on. But yeah. Right. Good stuff. So, and also I should point out on an EPR engine, the takeoff thrust and so on will be limited by EPR as opposed to N1 and so on. But the pilots will be most aware of the N1 most likely. Good. So init B then, let's go to our weights and yeah, pretty heavy. Zero fuel at 67.6. And max zero fuel 27.4. Nicely balanced aeroplane. Block fuel we said 12.5. There we go. Alternate fuel 2.1. Now I'm just going to compare that to my charts. This reckon to go to our alternate we need 2.2. So I'm just going to update 2.2 for the alternate fuel. Final reserve fuel 1.1. This reckons 1.3 actually. So I'm going to put 1.3 in there. Just to make it all match up nicely. There we go. And looking pretty good. Great stuff. Just going to make sure that wind is loaded in. So let's just load it in again. Now we've got the whole route in. So that is the init B page. 200 kilos for taxi seems sensible. We'll do dual engine taxi today because there's not many of us here and it's a nice small quiet airport. And we have a ground controller, which is great news. And finally then performance page. So let's go for flap 1. Takeoff performance, no slope, flight plan, the active flight plan. We're going to use config 1 plus F. We're not going to use toga. So no shift, flaps to 1, flex temp 43, and we've got speeds 156, 156, 159. I'll have to be careful because going from the 320 NEO to the 321 all the time, these flex temperatures, so in a 20, they're higher. These numbers can be higher typically. In the 21, they're obviously lower, more thrust required, but there you go. But different limits as well. The engines are tuned accordingly. Good, and that heads us off for our departure. So let's have a look at that departure. This is going really well. We could be on for a pretty quick getaway here compared to my normal streams. I often get in trouble for taking too long to get in the air. Later viewers find it frustrating, which I can understand. We'll go to plan, flight plan. So we are going to, well, let's start with the taxi out. So we're here. We're on stand 41 center. Traffic around us. Push back into whiskey probably. Taxi out. I don't know what they'd use. Maybe Delta, maybe Echo, then Delta. Turns into Alpha all the way up, and we'll go full length Alpha 1 for a runway 15 departure. We're then going to take off from runway 15, basically straight ahead to 2 miles IBIR. I'm straight ahead to D2. Then a right turn on 165 track until 4 miles. So if I zoom in, we can see those 2 points there. There we go. So 147, then 165 out to 4 miles. So if you remember, that is 165. So that's the 165 track, and then 4 miles, which is ABCD 4. So it all makes sense. And then a right turn direct to Luxto. Off we go, Luxto, and away we go. 976, 2 hours 25. There we go. We have a complete flight time. What does our chart reckon? 2 hours 27. So it all sounds like we put in the right thing. All seems to make sense. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If we have any problems before Luxto, including an engine failure, most likely we'll then just return back round and in. Great news. So let's go back to ARC. Let's get that ATIS if there is one available to us. Just jumping into the chat. Sorry, again, I missed loads of things. Charlie says, what is the ETA? So it's going to be about 2.5 hours after we get going. So I'm hoping to get going within the next sort of 20 minutes. That's the plan. Warrior Lad says, I need to get the ToLiss A321. Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. And I do really enjoy it. Apparently it's going to be 5 Zulu for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Oh no, they're going to put it right on top of the stream. How dare they? No, not at all, of course. It's good news. The Morgan Thomas Show. Thanks for coming along. Morgan Thomas says, I'm here as ever. 17 hours of VATSIM now, IFR and VFR, all thanks to you. I'm even able to jump in the other planes because of this channel. Thank you. That's great to know, the Morgan Thomas Show. I'm really glad they've helped. Really nice to hear. So thank you very much for coming along. Southwest 678, thanks for coming along. Right. Let us start to get ready. Olive Live has a good question. Is there a reason why when you turn on the batteries, the aircraft makes several blips, sometimes 3, sometimes 6? The blips that you hear, the triple click, that is the flight warning computers coming online. So there's computers that sense failures in the aircraft. They aren't always online, of course, and when you power on the airplane for the first time, it takes them a while to come online. So what you do is you power it on, and we have to do the batteries first before we do the external power. Then you let it power on, and you'll get that triple click eventually. That then tells you they're online, and only after that can you do your APU fire test and so on, because before that the computers aren't working properly. If you start up the APU or try to before the triple click, there's a risk it will shut down, and it's just not the right way of doing it. So that triple click is a little announcement to the pilots of what's going on. So there you go. Sean Duff, good to see you. Thanks for coming. Jackson 6, good to see you as well. Thanks for coming. Very kind. Sim Scott says, have a great flight. Thank you very much. We shall try. We shall try. Chick Point says, always happy the setup takes so long. At least I won't miss the start. Yeah, I hope the times are convenient for you guys. I should mix it up a little bit more. But yeah, we often end up with this sort of time. Especially for these longer flights, just because otherwise it runs quite late into the evening where I am, and I end up starving. Right, let us close up the doors. No way to make it visible, I'm afraid. That's closed. That's auto closed. Closed. The auto function is actually pretty good. You don't really need anything else here. So the doors are all closing up now. Last cargo door shutting. Let's get the ground crew to drive away. Goodbye stairs. Oh no, not the ambulance. We'll leave the... No, we don't need the GPU. Love it, love it, love it. Absolutely love the scenery animation manager. Yeah, really enjoy that sort of thing. Thank you all for coming along. I hope you're enjoying the stream. If you are, please do hit the like button. It makes a big difference to the channel. But thank you all for coming along today. It's great to see so many of you here. Mike Lee says, can you scroll through the flight plan? If you'd like to see the flight plan, Mike Lee, put in ! route and the Streamlabs bot should come to life and tell you what the flight plan is. Brenend says, watching the stream on my Turbo Trainer. I think you're going to outlast me. Thanks for your hard work putting these streams on. You're very welcome. Thanks for coming along. Right, here we go. Dara says, the setup is my favourite part of flying the Airbus. It is good. The Airbus is incredibly well designed for turnarounds. There's my Treble 457 heading off in front of us. So we better contact... Anyway, let's get rid of the ground power. Get that AP bleed online. And let's start picking up an ATIS. Because before we know it, my incredibly proud early departure is going to be delayed. There's no ATIS at the moment, so we will run with the Avitab weather. This is where the Avitab really makes a difference. It's just so easy to work with. Right, so 13014, Cavo 0 and -6, 1026, which makes sense. So let's put in 1026. Oh, no, not that much. 1026. And it's over there. Gives us about 300 feet, which is correct for Birmingham. Now, that wind is good, so a good headwind for takeoff. 0 degrees out there, but nice and clear. So there's no moisture around. If there's no moisture, we won't need any of the anti-ice stuff. So that's good news. Right, let's run the before start checklist. Copy prep is... Oh, we can get rid of that ground power. One last time, check the APU is definitely available. Yes, it is. So, good stuff. Right. We're all aligned. Good. Copy prep is completed for both of us. Gear pins and covers removed. Signs are on and auto. ADIs are in nav. Fuel quantity, as we talked about, 12.5 tons, a little bit extra, but it is balanced, including in the middle tank and checked. Takeoff data is set. And BARF is set 1026. So the question now is, what do we do? Zachary Laramie, good to see you. Thanks for coming along. Right. What do we do when it comes to ground in this situation? Do I just go to Unicom? Do I tune ground? Obviously, I'm going to need ground before we do anything else. Oh, it looks like we lost ground, actually. I think it's just us, which makes it much easier. But yeah. Let me just do a little refresh. Nope, no controllers at all. Right, that's us then. So, Unicom it is. Often I forget the frequency of Unicom. I've got this little radio panel, but I must find a way to sort of secure it to the desk or something. There we go, 1228. Great stuff. Great stuff, right. Oh, got Ryanair behind us over there. Got a couple over here. Another first choice. Great. Right, I'll do a little announcement then. Once I think we're just waiting on our colleague. Oh yeah, we can. Oh, there's our colleague already going. Oh, they're not messing around. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Let's get rid of all that stuff. Let's do better pushback to connect. 1188 says max. Oh, have I missed something? Oh, 1228 max. Yeah, good. Yeah, thanks. 1228. That's what we've got. Thank you. I often forget the Unicom. There we go. 1228. We are on. Our transponder is there. Right. So I'm going to pretend we are cleared. So let's carry on with the rest. So let's check those thrust levers are at idle. We've got the transponder to put to transponder. Windows and doors are all closed. Get that beacon on. There we go. Right, below line. Windows, doors closed and armed. Beacon is on. Mobile phones off. Thrust levers idle. Parking brake is set. So the question is, where do we sit in the queue here? Is that KFR?
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed. Ready to connect.
Pushing back. They're connecting downstairs. I'm just going to broadcast, I think. Why not? Birmingham traffic. Kestrel 253 stand 41 centre. We are going to push back into Whiskey cul-de-sac. There's another My Travel over there. Fantastic. This has turned into a much bigger group than it was, yeah, not so long ago. And we got some other traffic around.
Traffic, jets at 15 Hotel Juliet. We are going to push back after the Castrol.
Now there's a jet set. Excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Right, that will be the first choice. Right, let us start the pushback.
Cockpit, please show me where you want to go.
Not many places to go here. So what I'll do is I'm going to push myself back. Then what I'll do is I could just make it worse. Let's just do that. Don't want to make it too complicated and make a mess.
Release parking brake.
Okay, brakes released. Start the clock.
Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
We will indeed. We'll do 2 engines today, as we said. This is not Ortho 4XP, no, sadly. There we go. Blue Car says, my Thrustmaster officer pack is on the way Friday. Oh dear, this is a better pushback thing that we've had ever since the start of the channel. But yeah, so that's great to hear a jet set, which will be one of the first choice. We've got Monarch. This is a really great reliving of the old charter airlines, so good stuff. Right, that's sort of calmed down, I think. Let's get those engines started. So, using my Thrustmaster TCA that I finally remember to use, engine master to ignition, got that pressure, engine 2, on we go please. Master's on. Start the clock. Excellent, love it. Lou Tatho says, is there a better pushback plugin for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2? Yes, there is the pushback helper, which is excellent. They keep updating it, and that's really good. That is almost required for Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's not quite as good as Better Pushback yet, but Better Pushback is excellent at pushbacks, although it doesn't do jet bridges and so on, whereas the Microsoft Flight Simulator 1 does. Both freeware. Yeah, it's really good.
Traffic, Express 401, stand 20, we're pushing back.
Leaf Leverbrink, good to see you. Thanks for coming along. Leaf says, greetings from cold Sweden. Super to have the best captain in the seat of the best airplane. That's very kind of you. Thanks for coming along. Right, I heard the clunks, so the generator's online, which is good news. That's usually a sign the engine start sequence is pretty much complete, but the real key is that avail. There it is. Let's start engine 1. Now I've remembered to start both engines with the little switches. Great.
Operation complete. Set parking brake.
Parking brake set.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
There we go. The first choice can go in front, so that's even better. I should have gone further back, actually. So the tow bar is disconnecting. That's all good. Engine starting up nicely. The only Millhouse says, all these old travel companies flying out of Birmingham takes me back a few years. Yeah, it does indeed. Me too. It's great fun. Charlie says you stopped the chrono. My mistake. Oh no. Nope, still going. Right, there we go. Engine available.
Tow is disconnected.
Back to norm. All I need now at home is an overhead panel so we can do the APU.
We'll see you next time. And
Let's set.
15 Hotel Juliet for Castrol 235. We're actually going to go behind you, so if you want to get taxiing when we're ready, we'll turn right behind you.
Okay, no problem. Thanks very much. There we go. We've got a plan. Right, let's get rid of the APU. And come down here. Arm, reset, enter, flaps to 1. And set that trimmer. It should be pretty much in the center, 28.7, yeah. Yeah, not even going to fiddle with it. No point. 28.7, it looks good. And let's run the after start checklist. So anti-ice we are not requiring. It's cold, but it's not moisture out there, so that's fine. Ecam status is checked. We've got no messages. Pitch trim is set. Rudder trim is 0. After start checklist complete. Let's go for taxi. So what did I say? I did have a bit of a taxi plan. as ever, guys, if you have any questions and so on, I will answer them later. I'll just be a bit busy until we get up in the cruise. Okay, I think we'll go Whiskey, I think Delta Alpha. I think that's a good plan.
Traffic, Italia 1 Alpha, taxi to holding point runway 15 via Delta and Alpha.
Yeah, there we go. There you Delta. Birmingham traffic. Kestrel 253, taxiing to runway 15 via Delta and Alpha. Good stuff. Right, we'll have the turn off lights on, nose light to taxi, clear on the left, clear on the right. We did have our wave off from the ground crew. Brakes released. There's that wobble. But yeah, so we're on the latest version of this aircraft, which is great news. I'm going to do a nice slow taxi so that everyone who wants to come along can keep up. We've got another My Travel. We've got Kestrel, Kingfisher. So that My Travel showing up as Air India. There was another one that showed up as I forget the airline now, but yeah, we've had all sorts. Excellent news. MJ True says, oh, let me actually a bit of focus on this. Right, so yeah, I've changed my setup now. So my rudder pedals, I've got rudder pedals that do a bit of the nose wheel steering, and I've got the steering tiller done on the joystick sort of rotation. There's the Alitalia. Oh, I forget these older engines. Yeah, keeping us accelerating as we're on the ground, which is it's great. It's a great touch. The Neo isn't quite as bad. Oh, there's a Speedbird. Maybe coming along as well, or maybe heading somewhere else. I know there were a few other traffic just trying to do normal flights. So let's get ourselves along here, then we'll follow Delta out, and away we go.
Speedbird 205, pushing back 86.
There's Speedbird 205, excellent. So on this sort of bit, I can just use the pedals to keep it straight. That's typically what I do. If you're taxiing in any length in a straight line, doing more than sort of 10 knots, certainly more than 20 knots, then I tend to use the pedals to steer. I wonder if we can get around this turn with the pedals. Not quite. So you need the tiller. Alitalia 17 Alpha. I wonder what aeroplane they're in. Looks like, is that the MD-80 Classic?
Speedbird 205, we will hold here.
Great stuff. Love it. Love it. Love it. Daniel Lawrence says, when are you going to fly in the States? Yeah, that's something I must get around to doing. Yeah, absolutely. No absolute plan yet, but something to come for sure. Andy says, not seen a Speedbird in Brum for about 20 years. There you go. It's been a while. Van Rausch says, how do you initiate a rejected takeoff after setting toga? Well, as long as you've got the speed up enough, if you've done the setup properly, you just need to bring the thrust levers back to maximum reverse. And if you're going fast enough, the speed brakes will deploy, the brakes will apply. If you're going too slowly, you'll need to actually take over and do the brakes yourself. But in all cases, it starts with thrust levers straight to maximum reverse. Right. Okay, getting onto the straight bit. We'll head all the way down. There's the My Travel ahead of us. They've got themselves organised. So let's do our flight controls. Full left, full right, neutral, full down, full up, neutral, and full left, full right, neutral, as I wrestle with the two axes I've got assigned there. Yeah, I need to remember. I need to assign a disconnect button. I just realised I haven't done that. There we go. As you'll see, it's starting to run away as we go down this. It looks like a bit of a downhill. Yeah, it's certainly no uphill, so you'd soon start to feel it. Okay. We're going to go full length. Let's get our departure chart ready. There it is. We weren't cleared, so I'm going to set that to 6,000 now because we're just going to do it. And then we'll have to talk to London to get the performance page up in there. Let's check our performance. So we're going to depart from this little sort of mini rebrief. It's a very Airbus thing, but it's something we do. We're going to depart from Birmingham, 15, going that other direction there. Then we're going to go down past these two waypoints and make our right turn out to that point that I've forgotten the name, Luxtow. We're going to climb to 6,000 feet. As we do that, we'll do a flap 1 takeoff with the flex thrust. We're going to have the packs on for takeoff. Let's slow it down a bit, just so we don't catch up to these too much. And we're going to take off using these Speeds 156, 59. Climb nav blue 152, 6000. Good stuff. Let us put that weather radar. I don't need the weather radar. We'll have the predicted wind shear though. We do need that on even if the weather's nice outside. Transponder to TAR8. Max auto brake. Takeoff config. Ding dong the cabin crew. 41. So yeah, for once I might actually make it within the 45 minutes of pushback to takeoff, which is good. Good stuff. Okay. Engines are warm. And I think we're pretty much ready to go. So before takeoff checklist, flight controls have been checked, flight instruments checked, briefing confirmed, flaps config 1 and 1. FMA takeoff data we've got, as we said, 156, 159. Climb nav are blue and therefore armed. 1 and FT2 are all active, stopping at 6,000 feet.
Birmingham traffic, Alitalia 17 Alpha.
Transponder is set to TARA. ECAM memo, takeoff no blue. And that's it. Alitalia is about to go. I'm just going to stop at the holding point just for a minute, just to give a bit of separation. I've had a few flights recently where we've caught up. I'm not sure what the Alitalia is flying, but yeah, if the Alitalia is flying a slower aircraft, we may end up catching them as we did on a previous stream. So we'll give a bit of our own route separation to help out the London controllers, because I think some London controllers are online. There's Alpha just round the turn. There's the Q. Fantastic. Oh, well, actually, there's not too much of an issue because everyone seems to have caught up quite nicely. Let's squeeze that nose right up and see how far it looks in the flight deck. Yeah, that's just about okay. Brake sets. There you go. The line's right down there. Okay, so below the line then, we are going to be clear for takeoff when we decide to. Cabin is secured. Engine mode select can stay at norm. TCAS is TR8. Packs are both on. That's the before takeoff checklist complete. No squawk, says Tesla Kayak. No, that we didn't get any clearance in the end. It is a mad dog in front of us. Yeah, I thought so. MD-80 goes like a rocket. You'll be fine with a couple of min separation. So there they go. Let's start the timer. 2 minutes if you're going the same route, and I believe they're going the same way. So that's good. Nothing inbound at this time, just a speed bed above at flight 350. Thanks, SKW. Thanks for the info. Thanks for coming along. Right, off they go. Again, apologies if I have missed any questions and so on. We'll talk about it more when we go. So off goes the Alitalia. It's clear on the approach. Let's get the lights on. Take the strobes. Takeoff lights. Good stuff. Right. Let's cross the line. Let's go and line up. You can also check on here for TCAS. Oh, and that reminds me, in the ToLiss, for the TCAS to work properly, we need to set that to on, I think. Otherwise it doesn't, and that can be above. Right. So we've got another minute till we can take off, but we are ready to go. I've got this engine sounds a little bit quiet. I definitely need to change that for the next stream. That runway's too flat to be Birmingham. Yeah, we'll see actually, because Birmingham is famous for being quite bumpy. It's not the worst out there, but it's filmed very often by some spotters on YouTube, so it often looks worse because they film from a long way away. It gives that sort of compressed view of it. There's all the traffic coming up behind us. Fantastic. So we don't want to delay this. We want to get going as soon as we get the 2 minutes. Right. I hope you're ready to go. We're about to head off to Malaga. 20 seconds to go. Thanks all for coming along. If you are enjoying the video, do please hit the like button. It does make a big difference for the channel. Really appreciate it. And thank you all for coming along and watching. Right, there's our 2 minutes. So let's start the clock, get the thrust to 50%, hold everything out on the toe brakes, bring up that PFD, release the brakes. Oh no, there's that glitch, but there we go. 2 clicks forward, man, flex 43, SRS runway, Order thrust is blue and armed. Should have probably announced that to the others, but there we go. As we pass through 80 knots, releasing that side stick forward pressure up to neutral, and there we go. Does sound bumpy at least. Alright, V1 rotate, hands off. No rotate law in this. This is an old school one, so a bit of a squeeze on that side stick through there. There's nav mode. Yeah, the SRS a little bit better than that in the real aeroplane. Not quite as twitchy, moving up and down like that, but there we go. Positive climb, gear up before we get distracted. And now, climbing straight ahead, hoping to get that DME showing, but looks like it isn't working for us today. No issue, the aeroplane is more than capable of navigating this on its own. There we go. Through acceleration altitude, lever climb message. So, thrust levers come back to the climb gates. Oh, that's a bit of a, yeah, a bit of a thing with my setup actually. Funnily that. Let me sort that out in a second. Right. What is going on? Let's put that autopilot in. Autopilot 1. Something to do with my TCA officers pack, clearly. So we're accelerating now, which is fine. We just need to get those thrust levers in the right place. I'm going to have to just fiddle with the ToLiss menu. Could be when I updated it. No problem at all. That's my mistake. I did test it out earlier, but obviously not extensively enough. So we're accelerating now. We'll get auto flap retraction very shortly. There they go. Flaps come in, slats stay out.
Birmingham traffic, jets at 15, Hotel Juliet departing.
Above the S, flaps to 0. As you can see, a high clean speed, over 230 knots. And you can see center tank feeding. We can't take off with the center tank feeding, but now we're in the air, the airplane will use it automatically. All very simple, all done on its own. Climbing up to 6,000 feet now. After takeoff climb, checklist landing gear is up. Flaps are retracted. Packs are on. Power F to come on standard. Right, I've got to solve this thrust lever thing because my my TCA isn't quite set up properly. Now I wonder if we can do this on the fly. There we go. Brilliant. Again, the ToLiss is such a great product. So well organised. Oh no, not that much. There we go. Let's level off. Speed, vertical speed plus 1,000 as we come to our 1,000 foot to go. Traffic is taken off behind us, so that's all good. There they are showing up on TCAS, someone behind us anyway. Get a departing shots. You can see that nose high attitude. You know, we're doing 250 knots, but that nose is right up there because of the weight. We are, you know, fairly reasonable, 80 tons for this one. Yeah. Drained all that fuel. Excellent. Obviously, we're not quite level, but still quite good.
Speedbird 205, departing runway 15.
There's a speedbird as well. Right. Now the flaps are at 0. And the gear is up. We can get rid of those lights. Disarm those ground spoilers. Not going to need those, hopefully. So we are planning flight level 350.
Position runway 15, Birmingham.
So there's that triple click. Same noise as the flight warning computers coming online. Right, thrust come open climb 350. It's currently 35,000, so we're going to set standard, and it's now flight level 350, and it's checked. Something I don't talk about much on the channel is that in real life, and this is the same in all airlines pretty much, you check so carefully when you change from standard to QNH, then you check it on both sides. It will always be a call that is made, and both pilots will check it as part of the sort of call outs, because it's just so easy to get it wrong and have one side on standard or QNH or the wrong QNH and so on. But there we go, up to 350. So after takeoff checklist below the line is Barra F standard set. So that's us. Great stuff. Apparently the Alitalia ahead is on a different route. Excellent. There we go. NS says, hi Captain, should I get the 321 or 319? Are there differences in terms of features? With the 321 from ToLiss for X-Plane, you can get the NEO add-on. It's paid add-on, but it is available, which isn't available for the A319 at the moment. So yeah, so that is the advantage, but you've got to pay extra for that. I like the 321. I just like the airplane a bit more than the 319, so I would choose the 321, but I think they're both at the same place in terms of features, same developer, they're both being updated very nicely. So yeah, I'm sure the 319 is a lovely product as well. So just preference. But if you want a bit more option to fly longer routes, the 321 will be more fun for you because you can then expand it into the NEO. If you want the option to fly into more short challenging airfields, the 319 is better because there's lots of airports the 21 can't actually fly. But there we go. It's the reality is you know it's a simulator, so you can do what you want. But there you go. Right, through 10,000 feet, lowering the nose and accelerating to our climb speed of 300 knots. Still a pretty sporty climb speed, but that'll do at this weight certainly. Get rid of those landing lights. Nice, lovely smooth air. This would be a really nice day for flying. I really wish I could have gone flying today because it looks absolutely stunning out there. And in here we'll go to RadNav, clear out our selection because we're no longer using it. And in the secondary we'll copy the active because we're no longer using that return. It's better to have the active flight plan in there. And away we go. Turtle Kayak says, so glad to be back in the ToLiss and X-Plane. Excellent. Yeah, it is nice. It's a really, really great product. Olive Live says, I meant the initial bips it makes just when you press the battery's buttons. Makes 3 bips sometimes and other 6 bips. Why that number? Goodness me. I'm not entirely sure I know which sound you're talking about. There is a sort of high-pitched one it makes. But in terms of 3 or 6, I can't tell you, I'm afraid. That's beyond me. Maybe if Windows Seat does come, they might know, our Airbus engineer. Mateo says, what joystick sensitivity do you have? Good question. I don't know off the top of my head in X-Plane. It does vary depending on which sim I'm using. I think it's pretty much linear with a tiny bit of... bit of a dead band. Yeah, I think it's linear in X-Plane. I won't check it just because it will pause and clear us out. Gavin says, I've been having trouble inputting fuel levels into the init B page on Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Keep saying format error when I try to put the numbers in. And you'll know the cause. I'm afraid I don't know the cause for that one. MJ says, do you have any tutorials on how to set up a flight from dark and cold in A320? Yes, I do. I do indeed. If you go to the channel, I have a cold and dark setup for both the ToLiss and the Microsoft Flight Simulator A320. Yeah. So just search 320 Sim Pilot cold and dark. Axel says, how percentage-wise, how done would you say the 320 NEO in Microsoft Flight Simulator is? That's a tricky one. How done is it? I don't know. I don't want to say. I mean, these things are never done. They're constantly updating, and the real aircraft is constantly changing as well with NEO and software changes and so on. So they'll never be 100% done. The fly-by-wire one is obviously nowhere near as done as this one because it's just a work in progress. But I couldn't give you a percentage really. I wouldn't like to say. Keith says, love the ToLiss A319, but brakes easily overheat, which is apparently realistic. Yeah, it is. Yeah, if you ever say you land and then you do a turnaround and then you taxi out and you have a long taxi, you can easily get the brakes over the 300 degrees for takeoff. Yeah, so brake fans are very useful for that. Lee says, a bit bumpy going through 115 for me. Okay, well, it seems alright so far. I don't have active sky though. I really should. Olive says, no, it dings. No, I'm not. Oh, maybe are you talking about the dings as in the cabin dings, Olive? Because it will do a sort of wake up of the it's called the SIDS system, which does all the controls of the cabin and the lights and so on. But yeah, it's not something I could give you a definite answer on. Dara says, how big an impact can strong head tailwind have on a flight time of a short haul flight? It can be quite big. You can talk half an hour. You know, if we have a strong headwind the whole way, it might be a good half hour quicker to come back the other way from Malaga quite easily. Doesn't sound like much, but I can tell you it is when you've got places to be or you started early that morning. Luchi 2. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming along. What have you been up to on the Discord, Vucci2? SKW says, have the slider detents absolutely perfect on the side stick now. Reluctant to get the quadrant now as it's working so well on the stick. Yeah, well, if you're happy with the way your joystick is working, then yeah. If you know how to do the detents, then that's no problem. The ToLiss has a great system for setting the Airbus detents. Probably one of the best I've ever seen. You're welcome, MJ Drew. Bradipo says, Brado Puccioso says, do you have enough free time as an airline pilot? Well, for the last year, certainly. As you can imagine, far too much free time. Normally, in busy times, when everything's really busy, yeah, you do. The problem is, in normal times, I'm not trying to sound ungrateful here, but when you're a pilot, it's a shift job. So anyone who's worked shifts will know that there are downsides to that, such as coordinating days off, visits with old friends and so on, who will often be free at weekends. And for airline pilots, especially when you're starting your career, weekends can be harder to get. More senior people tend to be able to get them. And even then, you know, people have got to fly on weekends and in the evenings and so on. So, yeah, that's the only thing that makes it a bit difficult sometimes, the social aspects. But you should get free time. You may not get free time in a given day either. Remember, some of our days will be 12 hours plus commuting. It is possible, and you can get delayed and so on. So it doesn't mean you're going to have every evening to sit at home and relax. But still, one of those things, really, shift work. No worries, Olive Live. No worries at all. Lee says your wins are way different to mine. Oh dear. Yeah, I've got 204.42. Let's put airport up here so we can see where we're heading over. So there's Cardiff over there. Wow. Yeah. Our route is taking us well clear of London, actually. I should have realised that. Yeah, we've gone very west. Going south of Cardiff, near Exeter. I was wondering why we didn't get any hassle from air traffic control yet. Landing Gear says, it would be cool if we could hear the PTU sound in the ToLiss A319. You can't hear the PTU in any of them, frankly, in real life. So I suppose in the ToLiss, remember, if you want to hear those things, you can. Where do they put it? Sound. 3D sound fading. It should be audible if you have that turned off, but if you have it on, it's a bit more realistic. Because you can't hear them. The noise of all the fans and so on is much louder. Mr. Espresso, thanks for coming along. Hope you're doing well. Mr. Espresso says, hi Captain, hello everyone, just joining the stream, we're stuck in corporate Zoom meeting. I hope it went well, and thanks for coming along, Mr. Espresso. Yeah, we started slightly earlier today just for the longer flight, but got a bit of a headwind as well, so seems like a good plan. Warrior Lad says, is the 321 comparable in size to the Boeing 757? It's comparable, it's not as big or as heavy. It doesn't carry quite as many, although the 321 NEOs, they can fit a lot of passengers in, but yeah, the 757 is a bit of a bigger machine. Yeah. Mike Sheldon, thanks for coming. Glad you're done with work for the day. Yeah, I figured 5 o'clock would be a bit of a cut-off, so I should have perhaps timed it better for that. Alan Story, thank you very much, as always, for your very kind donation. Alan, a long-time supporter of the channel. Again, being far too generous, but thank you, Alan. Really appreciate it. Thanks for coming along today. And Alan, thank you for your £10 donation. Alan says, put this towards your throttle quadrant add-ons. Excellent. Yeah, well, I will. That's I will be. I've been keeping a lookout for those. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And thank you as ever for your support, Alan, on the for the channel. Really kind of you. There we go. Our contrails are coming in. Yeah. So Alan's talking about the throttle quadrant support add-ons, which are the speed brakes, rudder trim, flap lever, which parking brake as well. So all really nice things to have, actually. So yeah, I hope to be able to find those in stock one day, although there's no guarantees of that. But thank you very much, Alan. Really appreciate it. Gavin Malagari, thank you very much, Gavin. Very kind of you for a $4.99 donation. I hope you're doing well in America. Gavin says, I'm looking to become an airline pilot myself when I graduate from college. About how long did it take for you to complete flight school? Flight school, if you do it in one go, will take you under 2 years, sort of 18 months to 2 years. There are other things you need to do after that, of course, such as get your type rating. So when you finish flight school, does your airline then do your type rating for you, or do you have to do it yourself before you join your airline? Hopefully your airline will do it for you, and if that's the case, then yeah, about 18 months it's not a target, but that's typically the shortest it can be done in. It just depends as well. When you're looking around at flight schools after you graduate from college, that they will tell you the structure of the course and how long you're expected to be there, because obviously it's not ideal if you're training full time. You're going to have to pay for your rent and food and everything, and you won't be getting paid a salary. So it's a tricky thing to do. So you don't want it to be dragged on for any reason. But yeah, you don't want to rush it either and get it wrong. You want to have the time to be trained properly and to take it in so you can do your best. Bobby says, what do you think about the new A321 XLR? Flights as long as wide bodies on a narrow body. Yeah, I mean, if you're talking from a... Well, I don't see any problem with it. Personally, I know pilots who fly long-haul aircraft will find the short-haul aircraft, they typically say it's a bit less comfortable. I've flown longer flights on 737s before, not as a passenger, obviously, and... yeah, they were not as comfortable in my opinion, but depends out how your airplane's set up. But yeah, from a safety perspective, I see no issue at all. Mr. Chippy says the add-ons look great, but at the moment there's more chance of buying a Holy Grail. Yeah, they're not about to be available, I don't think. But hopefully. M47J says, do you think you'll ever completely switch to Microsoft Flight Simulator? Well, I imagine before that becomes an option, there'll be X-Plane 12 or something similar. So I would imagine no. I like X-Plane a lot as well, and we've got so many good aircraft. So for the next year, there's such a release of aircraft coming that I'm excited to fly an X-Plane, as well as the ToLiss being excellent as always. So no, I won't be swapping over fully. We'll keep doing both. I think there's plenty of room for both, plenty of good fun things to do in both as well. Badapo Pacioso says, well, thank you very much for your €5 donation. Really appreciate it. How much free time do you have as an airline pilot, says Badapo. So I did answer this, Badapo, but if you didn't hear it a bit earlier, but thank you very much for the donation. Really appreciate it. Very kind of you. Thanks for coming along to the stream. And in answer to your question, obviously for the last year or so, a lot of free time, given the situation. But normally there is... enough free time, but it's just not always at the time you want it to be free. You work shifts, you'll be doing potentially working over the weekends, things like that. So it's I'm not complaining at all. I'm just explaining the reality of it, because some people, anyone who works shifts will understand that as well. I'm not suggesting pilots are unique in that problem or anything like that, but yeah, meeting friends and social aspects can be a little bit tricky, especially when you start out, because you'll be junior, so we'll find that the more senior people will want the weekends off because they've done their time working weekends. But yeah, but in terms of actual time off in a month, depends where you work as well. Some places will fly you or make you be at work longer. Some airlines have different setups. So in some airlines, you'll fly a lot. You can only do a certain number of hours in a month. So if you're flying the maximum number of legal hours you can do in a month, which some airlines will do, you'll find that you don't, you're not flush for time. You'll have lots of hard work time. But it does depend how your airline does it. Some airlines will have you fly loads of hours in one day, so you can only work a certain number of days in the month. If you only do a couple of hours a day, obviously you could work every day. So that's the thing. It varies like that. But anyway, thank you very much for the donation. I hope that answers your question. Fuji2 says, are we flying in real time or 320 SimPilot variable time? Good question. Well, we're in real time at the moment, I think. No, we're not. Ah, dear. This is hopeless. I've got it wrong again. No, we're at 1300 UTC. So there you go. It'll be daylight for the whole flight. Yeah, I was just thinking, as soon as you said that, I thought the sun seems pretty high for it to be real time. So there we go. So let's have a look on the map and who is flying along with us. So there's our little convoy heading out. I think we're catching that Alitalia. But luckily they're a bit lower than us. They're at 33.2. We're at... oh no. No, we're gonna go right with them. Leaf, thank you very much, Leaf Laverbrink, for your 100 sec donation. Really appreciate it. Leaf says this is a bribe to get all your focus on X-Plane. I know we have a lot of X-Plane fans in the audience, so of course I will continue with X-Plane, which is it is great. It's a really nice platform, and like I say, surely we are going to see X-Plane's answer to Microsoft Flight Simulator at some point. I mean, it's got to happen, hasn't it? 11's been out a little while now, so that's exciting. Mehmet is flying a 321 X-Plane now. Very good. But yeah, thank you very much, Leaf. Leaf, a long-term viewer and supporter. So thank you, Leaf, for your support. Really appreciate it. Digital Giraffe just managed to get the Thrustmaster Warthog HOTAS. So happy. Excellent. Yeah, enjoy that. Really nice joystick. 5 Miles High says, hey Captain, just want to say thanks for all your tutorials in the 32NX. They're really good, useful, and I am now doing a tour around Central America. Fantastic. Glad to hear it. I'm always chuffed to hear that people have enjoyed the videos, and it's even better when people have been well, no, it's just as good when people have been able to get flying and enjoy the Airbus because of them. So that's great to hear. Thank you. Axel says, how did you manage to get past the financial hurdle of becoming a pilot? So I don't want to go into too much detail here either, but it is a reality of the industry that there is an initial financial hurdle in terms of how you can become a pilot. So I'm not going to talk specifically about myself here. I'm just going to talk about some of the things that go on in the industry that people can use to help themselves get into the industry. So one thing is people get scholarships. So there are some scholarships out there. Some organisations will run scholarships where they'll help people become airline pilots by funding some of their training. If you're lucky enough to get one of those, that's great. But there's not many of those. There's also cadet schemes. I just watched this level off here. So up to 35.0. Back out star. Now we could get a TCAS. I'll be curious to see if it works. Because that traffic is pretty close to us. Yeah, there we go. Oh, the 2,000 beneath us. So I think we've just overtaken our colleague. There they are. Fantastic. So we do seem to be a little bit faster. But now, looks like they're getting away again. Now they've leveled off, they'll be quicker. Start that clock. Yeah, we are heavy. What's the recommended max today? Yeah, 363. So I wouldn't go up to 360. So 35 is our maximum, and as you can see, quite a close speed tape here. So yeah, we could go a little bit faster, but I think it's best if that Alitalia is going to be a bit quicker than us. Then we'll just leave them to overtake, but maybe maybe they'll stay there. There you go, very good. We could test out the TCAS if we coordinated ourselves properly. Right, we're heading out to sea, going oceanic. There we go. So let's do our top of climb sort of stuff. TCAS can go to below and have a look at some of these systems. Engine's looking good. Still slightly imbalanced oil, which is great to see. Nice detailing, as I said. Pressurization looking nice. Great stuff. All the fuel's coming from the normal tanks now. I feel like the doors aren't quite laid out quite like that in the real aircraft, but I'm not going to say that with confidence. It's been a while since I've been in a 321 classic like this. But yeah, they look slightly different, but I'm not sure. Anyway, all systems looking good. So the financial hurdle of becoming a pilot. So the other thing you can do is cadet schemes. So airlines will try and get new pilots to join. They'll help them out financially. They'll maybe they don't pay for the training, but they may provide the money that you then pay back out of your salary once you start with the airline. Things like that. That's another way that people can get into the industry. And the cadet schemes aren't around at the moment because airlines obviously don't need pilots for the next couple of years, probably because they've got the pilots they've laid off to come back still and so on. But yeah, if in the good times, the cadet schemes are the way forward in my personal opinion. But yeah, the reality is there's a financial hurdle, and you may need someone around that can help you out with some of that financial hurdle, which is a shame. It's a shame. How did I get such high climb thrust? I haven't done anything. I've just left it to do it. It would depend on the conditions on the day. Have I got the wrong weather set or something? No, seems okay. Yeah, off we go. eBoss says, would it be more economical to fly 2 A321 long-haul flights instead of 1 A350? I've wondered about that specifically when the aviation market opens up again. No, it would be better to fly 1 A350, I'm sure. I mean, airlines will know. I don't know. I'm not an airline planning manager or anything like that, but I'm totally assuming that flying 1 A350 is ideal, because not only have you got the cost of the fuel, you've got to think about maintenance, wear, and crew that you're paying for, and so on. So yeah. However, you might find that some routes don't have high demand in one go. They want frequency, so maybe there are occasions where a 321 long haul would work better. I just don't know. As we get these 321 NEOs that can do it, I'm sure we will see more and more long haul flights being flown in the 321, because there will be reasons for it. Where's our Alitalia? There they are. We're just edging ahead in this race. Ben Millward says, what's the big blue blob on the map screen? So the real aircraft would load this up better and you would see all of the blue, but this is meant to be the water. There's Jersey out there. So our routing looks like it's going to take us right over the Bay of Biscay. No, I always do that. Maps, there we go. Looks like we're going to get, we're going really out. So we're going to go over Brest and then out over Bay of Biscay and then down to Malaga. Malaga down here, for those of you who don't know it. So Gosh, thank you very much for your £5 donation. Really appreciate it. So Gosh says, a month ago I knew nothing about the Airbus. Thanks to your vids, I flew a 3,000 nautical mile flight from Rio to Nouakchott. Starting cold and dark, no assistance, thanks. You're very welcome, Sir Gost. It's great to hear. Thank you very much for your £5 donation. Really appreciate it. And that's it's lovely to hear that that it helped you out. That's great. Sounds like a fun flight. 3,000 nautical miles. Goodness me. Amazing. So thank you very much, Sir Gost. Really appreciate it. Squawk Mode Delta says, do you think Flight Factor A350 is worth paying? I have the Flight Factor A350, and I think it's really good. I did get it on sale, I will admit. But yeah, I like it. I can't say otherwise. It has lots of great systems. It's been improved a lot recently, I believe, but I got it since it was improved, and yeah, I can't sit there and complain about it. I did a 12-hour stream in it, and I actually, by the end of that flight, I really liked it. I enjoyed it a lot. Victor Tango says that an Alitalia DC-10. It's an Alitalia MD-80, who we seem to be absolutely crushing in the race. There is a thing where, because we're a little bit higher, we're going to have a better true airspeed. So even if, you know, the planes are the same performance, us being a bit higher will just help us out over time. Love the contrails. Love the contrails. Great to have those. Squawk Mode Delta, you're very welcome. Ralph agrees the 350 is also nice. Yeah, exactly, yeah. And I believe Matteo, our moderator and big contributor, has done some videos on it and startup and so on. So yeah, definitely something to consider. The Burkerflyer says, what do you think about the Mango add-on? I don't know what that is, I'm afraid. Swappy S, thank you very much for your 100 rupee donation. Very kind of you, Swappy. Always coming in with these very kind donations. Really appreciate it. Swappy says, finally done with work and dinner. Time to enjoy the stream. Excellent. Thank you very much, Swappy. Sorry for the early start, but yeah, really appreciate it. Very kind of you. And thanks, as always, for supporting the channel over and over again. Really kind of you. Thank you, Swappy. Victor Tango says, of course we do. Airbuses are superior. Excellent. Ooh, Balchurch says, if there is one thing you do not like about the A320, what is it? Ooh. Wow. Great question. Great question. I'll have to think about it. I'll have to think about it. Something that it's sort of like a double-edged sword is these thrust levers that stay still. It's great in terms of simplicity. It makes the go-around very clear, the rejected takeoff very clear. The downside is obviously on a windy approach where you can't really feel what the engines are doing. In a Boeing, on a really windy approach, from chatting to pilots who fly them, if you think the thrust isn't doing what you want, and sometimes the thrust, the thrust might not quite get the same feeling as you. The thrust will be reacting to the speed, whereas you might feel the height loss or something similar, So you'll realize that although maybe, for example, maybe the speed's increasing, so the thrust is coming back, but you might feel the speed increasing and also a bit of a height loss or something at the same time. So you might be aware that you need to keep that thrust, something like that. And you can just move your hand and you can push it, keep it where you need it. Which we don't get in the Airbus. These are still, they'll be still no matter what the engines do on approach, unless you're doing manual thrust. So sometimes I think it would be nice if the auto thrust could move these, but at the same time there are reasons this is advantageous. So that's something. But yeah, I'm a big Airbus fan, as you can imagine. I spend a lot of time flying it, and I'm just trying to think of something, sort of quality of life. But again, compared to what I've flown before, the tray table's great, lighting's great. I mean, I'm sure there is stuff. It's just so hard to think of just on the spot. Great question. Saul Cobb says, what do you do in response to TCAS resolution advisory? You have to follow it. So if you're going to get a TCAS and it's going to tell you to climb or descend up here, what we're going to do is we're going to turn off the autopilot, turn off the flight directors, both of them, and then fly the aircraft into the green. The green it'll be red on here on the vertical speed where you can't go, and it'll be green where you must go. So it will say as well. So it might say climb, climb. So you'll do autopilot off, flight directors off, pitch up into the green, and off you go until it says clear. The tricky part then is getting back to where you were. So once it says clear of conflict, I would gently put the aircraft into, say we'd climbed up a bit because of the TCAS, then I'd put it into a slight descent back to where we were, get the flight directors back on, put an autopilot on, and then set the modes as you need it. But yeah, it's something I'd love to do a video on. I just can't replicate TCAS scenarios in this. In the full simulators, you know, the airlines use, you can just tell it, right, TCAS scenario. I really would love to see ToLiss or someone implement that. I have no idea how that would be possible. But yeah, the simulators that we use to train are able to sort of generate an aircraft and then just point it at you, and then your TCAS system reacts accordingly, and you have to react accordingly to that. So that would be great. One 255, some air traffic control.
Very good evening, Alitalia 1 Alpha, flight level 330.
And there's the Alitalia.
Alitalia 17 Alpha, bonjour, squawk 5647. 5647, Alitalia 1 Alpha.
All the way back there. Patrol, good evening. Kestrel 253, flight level 350, direct to Titub.
Kestrel 253, bonjour, squawk 5650.
Squawk 5650, Kestrel 253.
Alitalia 17 Alpha, identified direct Delog, Delta Echo Lima, Oscar Golf.
There we go. Oh no. I was being so smug there, but it didn't work. My radio panel didn't manage that. Maybe it's just too different of a system. Anyway, Squawk 5650, there it is.
Kestrel 253, identified direct Delog, Delta Echo Lima, Oscar Golf.
Direct Delog, Kestrel 253, thank you. Delog, there we go. I think that's on the other side of the Bay of Biscay. Or is it the start of the bay? Maybe that's the start. Yeah, that must be the start of the Bay of Biscay. There we go. So, Delog. Nav. Off we go. Oh no, maybe that's at the end. Getting confused now. Look at that, 280 mile direct. Very good. Arriving at 15:11. 13:20, 14:20. So yeah, about 2 hours to go. Long old flight. Roger Moore is asking about. Roger Moore says, could explain if there is a difference what action one would take at retard. I have heard in one situation it's a suggestion and also add a command. Sorry, Streamlabs has removed your message because of the word retard, but retard is what the Airbus says to remind you to retard the thrust levers to idle. So on a normal landing, when you're landing manually, the Airbus says retard as a reminder. It does this as you get near to the ground, and it's reminding you that you need to bring them to idle before touchdown. If you don't and you touch down, the engines will spool up again. And that's the reason that call is there, is because these aren't moving, so it's hard to judge otherwise, so that they don't want you to forget. In an auto land, when the airplane is flying, it will idle the thrust levers anyway at the right moment, and then at 10 feet rad out it will say retard. Again, it's telling you to bring them to idle, but you don't idle them before that, because if you do, you'll disconnect the auto thrust, and the auto thrust is working during the auto landing. So yeah, it's a reminder on a normal landing, but on auto land it is a command. You idle them when it says so, which will be 10 feet rad out. Yeah. Turtle Kai, thanks for coming along. And yeah, see you next time. Victor Tango says, I did actually have a couple of situations where I got a TCAS array. Ah, very good. So yeah, I remember some people on the Discord talked about having one as well. So I would love to see if there's a way to do it. Maybe we'll have to set up a group flight where we try and get some TCASs so I can make a video. Ed Haslam says, were you into flight sims before becoming a pilot? And if so, did it help during training? I was. I've always been into flight sims. I wasn't very good at flight simulators, so I wasn't on VATSIM before I became a real pilot. I never managed it. I could just about make an airplane fly an ILS on a good day. I had FSX. I had FS98, which obviously didn't have many features of the airliners, but I flew that 737 2D panel around Chicago for I don't know how many hours when I was growing up. I loved it. And I'll tell you how bad I was back then. I mean, I was just a kid, but I didn't know how to calibrate the joystick. So I flew that 737 around, but because I'd never calibrated it, and these days the calibration seems to, it is important, but not quite as important as it used to be. And I flew around, and I could only do, I think it was only left turns. The airplane wouldn't bank properly to the right. It would do a very slow roll to the right. So I could only do left turns in FS98 until I figured out how to calibrate it, probably years later. But did I think it helped in training? I think it's helped me do some things. I don't think it's a requirement, but I think it's helped with some things. I do occasionally fly model airplanes, and funny enough, Flight Sim has helped me most with that, because I got used to flying from, I used to sit in the tower and fly the airplanes from there, so I got used to flying towards me and still controlling the airplane, things like that. But that's not relevant for actual flying. But yeah, I think there are things Flight Sims can do to help you, just in terms of knowledge and systems, ideas, and understanding what is an ILS and so on. It can take some of the strain off when it's not all brand new to you, in that sense, and you'll get a sense of, trimming and the speed things happen. So yeah, I can't see why it's bad. The downside of doing Flight Sim stuff, if you're also training to be a real pilot, and this is important really, is that you can end up making it worse for yourself if you're trying to practice. For example, if I was trying to fly the Airbus in real life right now, if I was doing my type rating, for example, I was being trained by my airline, and I started to practice at home on this simulator over and over again. And it's better to be trained in the correct way than it is to be making up on your own. That's the time where it's not so helpful. But if you're just doing it for fun before you become a pilot, I think it's. I don't see why it's a bad thing. I enjoyed it a lot, and I think it helped with a bit of coordination as well. Lee Ellis, thank you. Lee says, if you'd like, I can help with the TCAS video. I've done it with a friend before. Yeah, something I'll definitely have to consider, because I know it works. I think I did have one once in the ToLiss. So. Kane says, been trying VTBD to VQPR. I don't know either of those airports, I'm afraid. But just can't get the approach right. Could you show how it is done in future streams? Thanks for a great channel, learned a lot. You're very welcome, and I will have a look. I'll have a look at those. Let me write them down. I can't promise anything, of course, but VTBD. I know Nice is one that VQPR was asked on the Discord to look at the Nice RMP 22, and the RMP 22 in Nice is a tricky one. There's plenty of ways to get it wrong. The locals there know it very well, but yeah, I could definitely do a video on that as well.
Direct TELOG Delta Echo Lima Oscar Golf.
The driver 83 says, is the A320 family capable to fly GBAS approaches? Is the system even available at any airport in Europe? No. VQPR's Pyro. Okay, great, thanks. Yeah, it comes up a lot. It's funny, there seems to be waves of airports that become popular in flights in YouTube land anyway. So I've heard a lot about Pyro recently, so I'll have to go and give it a go. Why not? It's good fun. Look, it looks good fun. But yeah, definitely. Lawrence Draper says, Flight Sim is harder, I think. Flying the PA-28 in real life is way easier. It feels impossible to trim correctly in the sim. And that is another good point, Lawrence. Thank you. Yeah, there is an issue where, the sim is, you're trying to do loads of things with just a few controls at your fingertips with a small screen. It is harder, nearly always, in the real aircraft to do certain things. So yeah. It's don't be put off if you struggle with flight simulators to trim or something perfectly. It's not like that generally in the real airplane. Mr. Espresso says, Captain, I have seen some pilots landing the Airbus with auto thrust turned off, saying they prefer to have full control of power and pitch. Your thoughts? So, auto thrust off land, it's fine. You can do that as well. There's no reason I don't think it's better or worse. Maybe flying without auto thrust in windy conditions, some people might find preferable, but I don't find the... What am I trying to say? So in a Boeing, it's quite common to turn off the autopilot and the auto thrust at once. The Airbus is different. We don't tend to do that. In the Airbus, the standard thing to do is turn off the autopilot and leave the auto thrust working. And you get used to it. You start to learn what the autopilot and the auto thrust are doing. So then you take out the autopilot and you can sort of predict what it's going to do a little bit and have a better idea. But that takes a bit of time on the aircraft before you get used to it. So I wouldn't say I prefer to fly it without the auto thrust. It's possible, but it's so is landing it with it, I suppose. And you can just leave it doing it on approach and then just idle it at the right moment. And it becomes about just timing that or judging that thrust levers to idle point. That becomes sort of the skill of the thrust for landing in the Airbus. Good evening, Sharkless Racing. Thanks for coming. Axel Jack says, what are you meant to do when TCAS tells you to descend but a controller tells you to climb? You do what the TCAS says. Always do what the TCAS says. Yeah, no doubt about it. So there's a very famous incident where, sadly, there was a bit of confusion, and one crew followed the TCAS and one crew followed the air traffic controller, and then they obviously, that did not end well. The aircraft collided. Where what you do is you follow the TCAS. Same with GPWS these days. They're considered very reliable, and therefore you will follow them. Swappy S says, Captain, any update on buying weather add-on, or did you get one? No, I didn't. And I was going to ask you guys, so what is the consensus in the community on the weather add-ons? So I looked at X-Enviro, but I understand the frame rate hit is pretty severe. And I know I'm generally doing all right for frame rates, but I've been to some sceneries where I'm not doing all right, and I worry that I would stream and it would struggle. And you guys did tell me, and I didn't write it down. I've been looking through my notes, and I didn't write it down. So which weather add-ons has everyone decided is the best for X-Plane at this point? And does it change the visuals as well? Sharkus Racing says, I think if joysticks or yokes would have some sort of force feedback, trimming would be way easier, like an artificial feel system. So, I mean, even yokes on like a 747, it's a classic Boeing, but it only feels like it does. It has weight to it because of the way they've done the hydraulics to make sure it has some sort of feedback. The side stick obviously doesn't, but we don't trim. However, there are occasions in the Airbus where you will have to trim and use the side stick, and it's totally possible, because the reality is, if you're having to put any pressure on the stick at all, then you aren't in trim. If you're having to hold it there to fly straight and level, then it's not in trim. So you don't actually need that force feedback, or it's sort of built in just with springs or whatever. As long as you've got some sort of tension in the control where it wants to return to neutral, then you'll have to fight that when you're out of trim, and that's the way you can feel it. Chickpoint says, trim is my nemesis in simming. There we go. Well, you're in the right aeroplane. Yeah, this is the way to do that if you don't like trimming. Lieta says, active sky. Active sky. Active sky plus X Vision. That sounds familiar. I like the look of X-Enviro, I must admit, but yeah. MH uses cloud art. Okay, nice. Active Sky 5 FPS down. And what does Active Sky do? I've forgotten. Is Active Sky going to change the way things look, or just be more accurate? Dougal agrees. Active Sky plus X Vision. Dougal says that X-Enviro can be stunning, but FPS and stutter hit is hard. Yeah, that's no good. I mean, in some airports I get below 20 FPS even when I'm using. Yeah, I don't know what else I can do. That my computer is what it is, and I can't make it any faster. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for the tip. I need to go back and look at those. Adrian Burke says, Active Sky XP. Not perfect, but that's because X-Plane's limitations. Hardly any frame impact and good accuracy. Comes with some cloud textures, but those are optional. That okay? He says I use Active Sky. It has cloud textures, but I'm using enhanced cloudscapes plugin for clouds. There we go. Yeah. So very customizable X-Plane, isn't it? Very customizable. Ralph is really pleased with Active Sky. Okay, well, there we go. Active Sky, the consensus here. Heather Van der Veen says, very interesting air crash investigation about the incident. It's called Deadly Crossroads. Yes, that would be the TCAS incident. Yeah, nasty. It's a very sad one. Captain Sim says, hello, just sub. Thanks for coming along and thanks for your subscription. I hope you enjoy it. Sorry there's no alert for you. I don't know why. I can't make Streamlabs do the subscription alerts properly anymore. It just doesn't do it. I don't know why. Yeah. Fly 24 is in the Monarch. Excellent. Fly 24, where are you? Fly 24 is the artist. We have several artists on the channel now, and Fly 24 is the artist behind the music. So those of you who were enjoying the music at the start, that opening intro music is a variation on the theme that I use in my video openings. There's the Monarch. Fantastic. So that is running, yeah, not far behind us. We've got My Travel 457 in front of us. Excellent. Great. Yeah, so Fly 24 did all the music. So the outro music that you like as well at the end, the rock music, which I think is fantastic. It's done by Fly 24 as well. All right, lads. So still waiting for the UK update. Is way later than usual. Fantastic. Adrian Burke says, quick question. Does the VOR auto-tuning only tune VORs on the route like the ToLiss or any close VORs? It would tune what it needs. Yeah. So it would always be tuned to something. Yeah. Like this one, I think. Oh no, this one's tuned ARE because it was on the route, was it? Yeah. Yeah, no, it would tune as it goes. But you can override it and put in what you need. The airplane will still navigate just fine. Basti says, recently I flew from Lima to Quito with a SimBrief suggested route, and during the descent I was flying straight into a 6,000 meter high volcano. Doesn't SimBrief consider terrain there? So SimBrief should, if you take your flight plan, depends what format you use, but you'll be given your flight plan. But remember, the routing on it, you need to account for the safety altitude. So if it's going to route you over terrain, the real ones will tell you there's your MORA. So I'm now routing to, what's our two waypoint? Deadog. Done that. There's Deadog. And I can see my minimum en route is 2,400, 3,100, 3,000. So it's quite low. So it's just up to you to make sure that you know where it is. And if you're descending, you may also have your procedural charts, of course, like this, that will show you what the MSAs are. So yeah, that's the giveaway really. SimBrief may not account for it. It may expect, it would expect you to be able to well, it would expect you to be above or below it above it as required. Adam C says, hey man, out of all the simulators you have played, what aircraft is easiest to fly, Boeing or Airbus? There's no way I could answer that one. We fly both on the channel. And thanks for the question, Adam. Thanks for coming along and watching. In terms of, if you're talking about which is easier to fly in the simulator, I really don't know. I can't say. I fly the 757 and the Airbus on this channel quite often. And, you got to trim in the Boeing, so that's the only added complication. But otherwise, they're really the same. It's just about preference and taking the time to learn it at the start, really. And some people find the Airbus a bit more intimidating because it's so different, but once you get the hang of it, it's actually really nice. Some people find the Boeing easier because it's more conventional, but I find the Boeing slightly more complicated because things like the overhead panel have so many more different styles of switches and so on that I find more difficult to interpret because I'm so used to this overhead. So I wouldn't like to say either, to be honest, but yeah, they're both good fun as long as you get an add-on that has the right sort of quality. Thank you very much to Scott Chodel for your $10 donation. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much, Scott. Very kind of you. Thanks for coming along. I don't see a message, but hopefully I'll see your message if you put it in. But yeah, thanks for coming along. I hope you're doing very well in America, and I really appreciate your donation towards the channel. Very kind of you. Olive Live taking off from Nantes to join us. Excellent. Better cases, he obviously prefers Airbus, yeah. Well, I do like the Airbus. I think the Airbus is great. And, you know, you don't have to trim. You don't have to trim. And if you get the thrust levers sorted, you don't have to move those either. Harry says, do you have a particular favourite A320 family variant to fly? The Neos are nice because they're new. There's some things they're not quite as nice at. I'm more used to the older ones, of course. I like the 320 a lot, the middle one. I find in strong winds or so on, the 320 is just it's just what I'm most used to. The 321's a close second. Probably 319 after that. I don't know if that's controversial or not. I don't dislike any of them particularly, but yeah, I like the 320 a lot. But the 321 is 321 is heavier and it rides turbulence better. So on long flights, it is nice to be in a 21, definitely. Stephen Barker, evening. Thanks for coming along. Steve Barker says, none of the airport lights or runway lights were on in Innsbruck. I have the Orbeck scenery. Yeah, sorry, I can't help you. I was disappointed that my Orbeck scenery didn't have the church in my stream. But there we go. Yeah, that's a shame. I haven't tried it at night. Daniel says, in real life, do you find that certain airframes have more tech issues or better performance than airframes of the same type? Yes. Not better performance. I can't realistically. It would be in your head to say better performance. More tech issues. Sometimes some will have more tech issues just by just the coincidence of it all. So that's just how it goes. But performance, no. In terms of actual how fast they are, no. They're all very carefully tuned to be the same. You think we're flying EasyJet now? We're looking at that view. Sharklets Racing says, when and how do you know where the crossover altitude is in the Airbus? When you descend with a constant Mach number, when do you switch to IS? It will vary on the weather conditions, the day, and what speed you're doing. So the Airbus does it automatically. Yeah, so you don't have to calculate it yourself. You could see it as well. If I want to descend at 280 knots, then I'm going to leave it in Mach until as we start our descent, I'll leave it at this Mach number, and then as it reaches 280, I'll convert it. But the airplane does it itself based on what's in here. So if I go to my descent phase, so performance, next phase, my descent speed is managed speed of 0.73 302. Now this is not realistic. The problem is Mach 0.73 is slow. It's too slow, in fact. So converting that to 302, it would happen really. Yeah, that's a bit odd. A normal one would be say 78 300, something like that. Let's put that in. That's a bit more normal. Mike says, is there a drink service on this flight? Yeah, for those of you in the cabin, and there are 180 of you in the cabin. The rest are in the hold with the heating today. I can give it a bit of a warmth. Yeah, there'll be a drink service going. Graham, I can see your message, but so it is coming through. Apologies if I've missed any questions. As ever, I struggle to get through all the messages, so I do my best, but yeah. Graham, oh there you go, Graham, there's your message. Graham says, first time here, thank you for your time. Can you tell me how the pressurization works, please? Wow. thanks for your question, and thanks for coming along, Graham. Yeah, pressurization, one of the biggest topics in the Airbus, and you can tell that because look how many pages we get. Several ecam pages all relating to pressurization. So it's shown here in the air section. I can then go to bleed, and this is showing us where that air is coming from. I can go to pressurization, which shows us the cabin information, and I can go to conditioning to see the temperatures. So basically, we've got two engines. Both of these engines have valves, which you can see here, these green circles. They're open. They're taking air from inside the engine where it's been squeezed as part of the process of producing thrust. So that squeezed air comes out of the engine. We sort of tap it off. It's really hot, really high pressure, 44 psi, 200 degrees Celsius, because it's been squeezed. It's not had any fuel in this or anything like that. It's just been squeezed. And then it goes into the air conditioning packs. These slow it down. They cool it down. So it goes into the pack at 150 degrees, comes out at 6 degrees. From there, it can be sent into the cabin. So it comes out, and it's for both engines, it comes out at 6 degrees Celsius. This is then fed into the cabin. And 6 is obviously too cold. But the magic is we have cold air coming in, and then the hot air valve will introduce a bit of hot air to top it up to the right temperature. You'll see that the flight deck is having to have hot air put in, the cabin's having cold air put in. And that's actually pretty true, depending on how many passengers you've got and so on, and the sun. So if the sun's shining right into the flight deck, often this will have to be cold air, or colder than the ambient temperature. But at night, this will be much hotter than the ambient temperature. That air is needed to keep us pressurized. Now, a lot of the air that goes in comes out again, and there's a valve at the back of the airplane where that air is coming out. So we're pumping in loads of air. We're keeping the cabin vertical speed 0, so that means that's otherwise your ears would be popping. And we've got an altitude of 7,200 feet, and that air is some of it's going overboard, some of it gets sort of recirculated through filters and so on, and that's it. So I've said it before that the myth is that airplanes are airtight. They're pretty airtight, but they're not perfectly. We actually let out, there's a valve actually down here, it's not modelled here. You can see the texture for it, it's this bit here. So we let out a tiny bit of air, and we pump in loads of air, and that's how we do it. Swappy S says, get flight factor 320, consider a new performance update. Goodness me. Yeah. I did hear about that, so I might be tempted because I like flight factor stuff. I like their 350, I like their 757, so I will definitely be taking a new look at that. Flight 24 says secret A380 fan. Hello from Russia. It says, oh, I'll get the name wrong. Matt Pen. Sorry, I hope that's terrible. But yeah, thanks for coming along. Hello from Russia. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Great having people from all over the world. Some overtaking from 2,000 below, are they? Oh no. As that MD-80 decided to speed up. Ooh, can't see them now. I'll have to have a look on that map shortly. Ralph, you're very welcome. There's no key combo. I can just click on these screens in the ToLiss, and it just brings them up. Really nice. You're welcome, Dougal. Graham, thanks. Glad it helped. There are sometimes sales on the ToLiss to 233ET001. Great name. Yeah, there are price cuts. Yeah, that's the hardest. That's one of the hardest names I've had to read out. Chris Turner says, hi, first time here. How long have you been a commercial pilot? And who would you say is the best company to work for? I won't say who I think the best company to work for is because firstly, I don't know, but also, yeah, I'll just keep that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. There's reality. But I've been a commercial pilot for 10 years. Yeah. I don't fly drones, Briony Silver. No. Model aeroplanes, yes. Drones, no. No. I've never found a use for a drone. I know I've got some people in the Discord. I think Window Seat posted some great footage from a drone, but I don't have nice places or open spaces around me where I could fly one. I'm in a more urban environment where I'm not allowed to fly drones around. So I'd have to take it to the Model Flying Club, and then there wouldn't be much to film. Yes, there is. There's a few planes on our nav page. Yeah, absolutely. But I think they're still behind us. Yeah, the MD-80. We overtook them from the top. Right, guys. I'm going to go on a quick break now. Let's just ask our traffic control. And control for Kestrel 253. Can we step out the flight deck for 5 minutes, please?
Kestrel 253, no problem. Report went back.
Wilco, thank you. Right, guys. Let's see if I can
Control, KLM 153 with you, flight level 330.
set up a timer.
KLM 153, bonjour, squawk 5656.
Oh, I'm doing that wrong.
KLM 153, 5656 for squawk.
Right, guys. I'm hoping I can get the timer to work this time. So we're going to go for a quick break. Then we'll be back ready to set up for the approach and have more chat, more questions, plenty to go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try something, and I don't know if it's going to work. I've been curious. There's a little button on my screen that says, make that real 5 minutes time, need to make coffee. Okay, yeah, we'll make it a real... Okay. I'm going to be back at 1800. 1800. Okay, so that will be slightly more than 5 minutes, and I'll put the timer up on the screen. So do please come back, and I will come back with the questions. We'll do more chat. We'll set up for the arrival. I'm looking forward to Malaga. It's got some nice arrivals and interesting terrain around as well. So I'll leave a nice view of the livery, which we also need to talk about a bit more. And there's a little button on my screen that says insert ad. So please forgive me. I'm just going to see what happens when I press it, because I've never done it before. But yeah, so we shall see you back here shortly. Thank you very much. We'll see you again very soon. Let me put the timer up. Oh, that's not worked. Let me try again. Let me keep going. There we go. Okay, guys. So let's... forgive me. I've got to find out what this button does. And we shall see you guys very soon.
Airbus Control, Liver Express 401, did we miss a radio call?
Iberia
Yes, just wondering if I missed the radio call.
transpondeur de départ de 3 transpondeur pour Europost 82. Donc, French prêt pour la descente et votre Madrid radar 133.75. Bye-bye.
13375 Kestrel 253. Thank you. Goodbye. Right. Hello everyone. I hope this is working. We've had a few issues, but there we go. Right. Fantastic. Good to see you all here. Let me just get this set up. Great stuff. Right. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for sticking with it. We are back. That's it. We've had a little in-flight break. Yeah, this livery definitely grown on me. Right. I hope you're doing well. Geordie Rabada, thank you for coming along. Let me jump into the chat shortly and find out whether my ad break did anything, because I have no idea what it does. But I've seen it there for a few times. And what does YouTube love more than adverts, after all? Right, we've been transferred to Madrid, which is great stuff. Madrid, good evening. Kestrel 253, flight level 350 to Delog. Kestrel 253.
Kestrel 253, hello, identified, continuous flight.
Wilco, Kestrel 253. Fantastic news. So there we go, right out over the bay. This is a really nice piece of airspace in real life. You get, it's quite quiet really. You typically go straight across it in a straight line. There's no need to interfere. There's no aircraft climbing up beneath you, no aircraft descending. So you can just enjoy it. And yeah, we are really storming along. We're catching up with that traffic in front as well. So jumping into the chat, where did we leave off? People enjoy the music. So the music for the break is not the same as the music for... sorry, it is not by Flight 24. It's different. It's from YouTube. But yeah, that's the only music that isn't done by Flight 24. And the volume's a bit loud. Okay, understood. I will make sure to sort that one out. First Officer Jaden says, greetings from UAE. Greetings to you. Thanks for coming along. Yes, Papa says, at least I know my ad block worked. Yeah, I do apologise. I'm not going to make a habit of it, but I had to see what it does. But yeah, I don't know if it's done anything. Some people seem to get ads and some didn't. Okay, thanks very much. Good to know. Checkpoint says, got ad block as well. Yeah, so people have got ad block as well. That's fine. Just interesting to know. Hopefully Checkpoint had a chance to make coffee on that one. Jeff says, greetings from Chile. Minus 30 degrees. Very cold, yeah.
Can we stay on the 242 Zulu arrival?
Squawk Mode Delta says, do pilots need FCOM before flying in the sim? Yeah, you'll have to read the FCOM for sure. That's going to be your Bible, as it were, of flying. Santiago Perez, thanks for coming along. Good to see you here again. Laurie Lowe says, hi 320 pilot, have you noticed the unique A320 sounds, like the whistling sound from airflow over the poles under the wings, and also howling sound from the spoilers being applied in flight? Very good question. So, that's two things. We have the holes under the wing. These holes show us, there's one there and one there, and they show us, we can look inside those and look at overpressure discs. And we're doing that on the walk around. I talk about it on my walk around tutorial videos. What we're looking for is if there's been an overpressure of the fuel tank. Anyway, they had their holes. And they didn't realise, or I assume they didn't realise when they first made the Airbus, that the way the air can flow at certain speeds and so on, it produces a whistling sound. So they've been modified in most aircraft. They've got a little sort of aerodynamic, I don't know what it is, how to describe it, it's like a little flap that just goes in front of them. It's very small and it reduces that noise. So I have heard the noise from the ground, but you don't notice it in the airplane when flying it, and now it's mostly gone. There is another noise, which is that speed brake sort of. What did Laurie describe it as? The howling sound from the spoilers being applied in flight. Yeah, funnily enough, in some conditions you can hear that from the flight deck. You can hear the way the air is compressed that causes that sort of noise. If you're on the ground, sometimes the first thing you'll hear before you hear the airliner is, especially if they're putting their speed brakes out as they pass overhead, is that sort of pew noise as the spoilers deploy, and then you'll hear the jet engine noise and so on. And you can hear that from the flight deck sometimes. Anyway, yeah, interesting. Lee says, right, my curry's almost here. Gonna hop off and watch some Casualty. Be back in a bit. Enjoy your curry. Very jealous. Sounds good. Bacon Warrior says, are we nearly there? We are over halfway. Today is a good excuse for a nice snack. Yes, I did see the news Checkpoint. Fat Thursday in Poland, where they have special sort of pastry you can eat. Pastries in Poland are all incredible. I've had so many good Polish pastries. I don't know the name of most of them, but there's fantastic sort of custards and bakeries. Oh, amazing. Absolutely love it. Dougal's having a stir fry. Lovely. Very nice. It's getting to that time of day, isn't it? This is a bit of turbulence. Yeah, the airplane wouldn't sway. The airplane's, you can have conditions where it's just perfectly still for the whole flight. That's the dream. Tyson says, hi, question on approach plates. I sometimes see three options, ILS or localizer runway, ILS runway SA Cat 1 or ILS Cat 2. So the ILS is the normal approach if it's available. So that's the instrument landing system. I have an ILS tutorial on the channel, so do have a look at that for more info on flying an ILS. The reason you have several options is that there are certain advancements you can make. So you can have a normal ILS to Cat 1. That will be your first approach chart. The localizer is an approach without the glide slope, and all ILSs you can fly without the glide slope if you want to. But yeah, so you've got or pretty much all. I'm sure there's some exceptions somewhere in the world. But the Cat 1 is the normal one, and then Cat 2, 3 will be an ILS where you can use it in low visibility and auto land. So that's what the Cat 2, 3 is. Cat 3B being the most restrictive of those, where the fog is really bad, you can use a Cat 3B. Low visibility procedures are something I haven't done on the channel properly, so something I look to do in the future. I'm very good today, Captain. Sorry. Arian Ramorti says, how are you today, Captain? I'm very good. Thanks for coming along. Paddy says, last person who told me pineapple on pizza was sacrilege would put ketchup on his, so I'm dubious. Yeah. Yes. Agreed. Agreed. Checkpoint got the cup of coffee. Excellent news. Chris Patton has been to Malaga. The place is beautiful. Yeah, Malaga is really nice and nice. Really, it's got a really nice approach. I'm going to talk about it, but I think we're going to do the other one today, actually. But still, I think it's yeah, it's a good place to go. I've never been into the town. Chris Turner says, hey, quick question. What position do you hold and what do you think your future will look like? Sadly, I won't talk about either of those just to sort of keep some privacy, Chris. But thanks for coming along. Alexander Pizzuto, good to see you. Alexander says, hello, my Airbus pilot friend. How is it going? I'm in St. Lucia at the moment. For the return flight, the aircraft will solely be carrying maggots. Alexander Pizzuto, good to see you. I remember last time you came, you said that you won't be flying for a while. Alexander Pizzuto is a 777 pilot who drops in on the streams. Great to see you, Alexander. But yeah, very lucky to have made it to St. Lucia. I'm very jealous. So that sounds fantastic. we can all think how nice it would be to be in St. Lucia right now. But yeah, it's all going well here. Just sadly not in St. Lucia. Ed Haslam says, was that people being given the runways already? Haslam says, I've been flying the Manta livery the last few days. Class reminds me of some of the classic DC-3 liveries. Yeah, that's Paddy's hard work. Paddy did the excellent job on that. And it's just glorious. Now there's someone in front. Yeah, we did have... my travel took off in front of all of us at the start. So there was always somebody at the front of the queue. But it looks like the 205 is right at the front now. So they're going to get the first look in. We're just reaching the coast, obviously. So in front of us is my travel. Then we've got the Alitalia and a first choice behind us, and then a Monarch and another my travel. Excellent. We've really revived my travel. This is great. Santiago, yeah. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, thanks. Squawk My Delta, what was your question? I do apologise. Alexander said it was a very last minute schedule change, very unexpected, but I can't complain. No, definitely not. That sounds great. It's a shame. It's a shame that we can't tell it's my travel from these views. Carlos M says, do you think the reverse thrust of the ToLiss A321 is lacking power to help the airplane stop, or that's how it's supposed to perform in real life? No, I think it's pretty good. The reverse thrust doesn't do as much as you'd think. It's mainly done on the brakes. The only time the reverse thrust takes the real strain is in wet or slippery runways. Yeah. Addix, thank you very much for your €20 donation. Really appreciate it. Very kind of you, Addix. That's incredibly generous. €20 donation. Really kind. Thank you. I hope you're doing well wherever you are in Europe, Addix. Addix says, thanks for all the videos and tutorials and Discord community. You're incredibly welcome. And yeah, I want to thank the Discord community as well, because it's an amazing group of enthusiastic people who've been so helpful and kind. But yeah, thank you very much, Alex. Really appreciate it. Very kind of you to help towards the channel. Thanks for coming along and watching today. That's really, really generous. Thank you. And I'm really glad you've been, joining the Discord. Do please, if you've got questions, feel free to join the Discord. I highly recommend it, full of really enthusiastic people. And even if I can't get to your question, there's often someone who can help. Volpe 2 kilo, expecting runway 13, Kestrel 253. There we go. Chris says, what the approach speed when you come to land? That will depend. But today, it's going to be 146. And the magic of the Airbus is it calculates this based on what weight it thinks you'll be based on your fuel burn before you get there. It's clever stuff. Very clever stuff. Some aircraft won't. That would just be an updating number, things like that. But this one does it properly. Again, Airbus is great. Thanks, Alexander Pasuto. Yeah, do send over some pictures. Fantastic. Saint Sarah says, great channel. Do you ever enter descent winds? Thank you very much. And yeah, in the real aircraft, I would just load them all in. Oh, I see. Yeah, it doesn't always get them all properly. But I must admit, I don't always end up doing it on the streams. Maybe I'll put in a couple of those. In the real aircraft, you just download them normally through ACARS if you're lucky enough, or put in a component at the start for a short flight. Jamlin, thank you very much for your £5 donation. Yeah, Jamlin, thank you for your £5 donation. Really appreciate it. Jamlin says, sorry I couldn't stay on Birmingham ground, work issue. Where did you get your route from? Luxto doesn't exist on NAT's current charts or Euroscope. Thank you very much, Jamlin, for your donation. Really appreciate it. And no problem at all. I completely understand. No one's ever obliged to control or be here for any of our streams. It's very kind of you to even try. And it's, if I'd got going quicker, you probably could have stayed. So probably is equally my fault. But thank you very much for trying, and thank you for your donation. Really appreciate it, Jamlin. Luxto was just what was given to me by Simbrief. So Simbrief filed me, or the route it gave me was Birmingham, runway 15, Luxto 15, departure, then joining the November 92 airway. That's just Simbrief, yeah. Strange it doesn't appear on the NATS charts or Euroscope. So, yeah, sorry about that. I did have a chart for it, so if it seemed all okay. But anyway, thank you for trying, and thank you for your donation. Really appreciate it. Checkpoint says, if you ever find the time, I'm looking for feedback on my scenery. If you want, you could take a look on Discord and scenery chat. I will take a look. I know you've been working very hard on Amsterdam, I believe, in Microsoft Flight Simulator, haven't you? So thank you very much, Checkpoint, for taking the time to do that, and I will take a look. Amsterdam's a fantastic airport. Lots of taxiways, so it will benefit from the individual care, definitely. Sam says, what does crank mode do? I never see anyone mention it. No, because you basically never use it. If you put it to crank, you can turn the engines over without any risk of it actually igniting or starting. Rarely used. Rarely used. You might use it if you've had a bad start or for some reason you want to crank the engine. The reason to crank the engine would be that there's fuel in there because it didn't ignite properly, so you want to fan the engine to blow the fuel out. That's why it's there. But yeah, rare, very rare. I don't know if I've ever used it properly in my time flying the Airbus. So gosh, I don't know when the UK update is coming out. People seem to think 5 o'clock, but it seems to be delayed. So yeah. Dougal says, do try and say hello at the Simwings group flight on Saturday. Alaska 559 is streaming. Ah, yes. Simwings are having their group flight, so if you want to help the Simwings support group, they do a great job helping people who can't get into Flight Simulator because of reasons they can't get hold of a computer or things like that. Simwings sort of get the computer and the gear, and they send it out to someone who's enthusiastic and being a member of the community but can't really afford the computing power required or the peripherals, that sort of thing. So a really nice cause for some really enthusiastic people who are really into their aviation and have been a part of the community. And yeah, it's a really nice thing, and they're doing a group flight, so you can pay a little donation and then you can join in on the group flight. And I've been to a couple. I've certainly been to one, and I've watched a couple, and they're generally, no, in fact they are always well researched, sort of often with a bit of local experience, but even if not, they're well researched, planned out flights where you get to fly around some of the most spectacular parts. Is that in Microsoft Flight Simulator, Dougal, your next stream, your next group flight? It says it's in the Patagonian ice fields of Chile. Sounds amazing. Yeah, so there you go. That's something on this Saturday for those of you who'd like a bit of fun. Lizzo5 says, Squawk Mode Delta's question is, what is the difference between full reverse and idle reverse because of noise? Some airport does allow use of full reserve due to noise abatement. Yeah, so we would try and use idle reverse if we can, because using max reverse every landing is a bit of a waste. It's noisy, it uses more fuel, and it wears out the engines, and you get more risk of sucking in stones and so on. Because obviously, remember, reverse thrust pushes air outside the side of the engine, which picks up dirt on the ground. And as you get slower, there's a risk of that going into the engine. Most airports will say do not use it except for safety reasons. So we will generally use idle. You'll use maximum if you have to, though. So if there's a performance reason, or you suddenly are concerned, you might use it, or if you have a lot of braking. But there are some runways, like, say, for example, Gibraltar. You go somewhere like Gibraltar, that short runway, you're going to use maximum reverse. Also, as I said, wet or contaminated slippery runways, you're going to use maximum reverse because it has a big impact on your performance on a slippery runway because the brakes can't do as much as normal. So hopefully that answers your question, Walk Mode Delta. Sorry I missed it.
Heading 210, Alitalia 17.
MH says, what inspired you to start this channel? And 777, thanks for coming along again. Good to see you. I hope you're doing well. MH says, what inspired you to start this channel? So, I wasn't flying, and I saw that the ToLiss and X-Plane, and I'd used X-Plane before in the past, but not 11, and I saw that the ToLiss 321 had been recent. Mach decimal 74, Kestrel 253. Now, can we do that? Yeah, that's just about alright. Can't go much slower though. If they said any slower, I'd say no. But there we go, it's because we're catching our colleague in front. Descent arrow will be coming up eventually. Yeah, still a bit of time, but time to brief soon. Yeah, so ToLiss coming out, and then I basically, when I was learning to fly the Airbus for the first time, and I mean, not learning to fly. When I was younger and I was using Flight Simulator X and I got the Aerosoft Airbus, I really didn't know how to use it. I didn't understand the thrust levers. I didn't know how to start the engines. It was so different. Somehow the Boeings, like the 757, 737, seemed pretty simple, but I really struggled. So I thought I would now, as I now fly the Airbus, I thought it would be fun to make some videos, sort of sharing some experience on them, and that's it. Yeah. And then, I did a few videos, and obviously the channel was tiny, and we had a small number of views, which was great. It was very nice, and we had nice comments. And then we had the sort of community build up very quickly with some of the people who are here now, still. So it was because of the people being so nice and coming back, and then we started up a Discord, and it just sort of kept growing because it just became so much fun to have this little community to talk about airplanes and appreciate the Airbus in. So yeah, it became propelled very much by the enthusiasm of you guys. That's why I kept going with the channel, definitely. R. Alexander says, regarding your position as an aviator, how many simulator hours are you required to log annually? You will log, let me think, 16 hours annually as a requirement, but there'll be an intense 16 hours. That will be higher this year because when you're not flying frequently, you'll have to do some extra hours to sort of keep your landing recency and so on.
Has been cleared to RLS runway 32 right.
Oh dear, sorry about that everyone. Sorry about that. Something's gone wrong with someone's audio there. Thank you very much again for your donation to Addicts.
122, that's Malay, Speedbird 415.
John Wells says, when flying the real aircraft, do you have a more dominant hand you like to use? Do you feel any major differences between the two? You don't get a choice. Whichever seat you sit in, you will use the hand that goes to that seat. Left-hand seat uses the left hand, right-hand seat uses the right hand. And as you go through your training, when you fly small aircraft, and then you become a first officer, and then a captain, you will swap hands all the time, and you just get used to it. Yeah, you just get used to it. Sam says, speaking of reverse thrusters, is this something that gets worked out on the EFB? How do you know how much you need? You'll either have the EFB with a performance calculator, or you'll have the paper QRH, which will have performance figures in it. Yeah, one of those. So you will have a calculator. Yeah. Yeah, sorry about the headphones there, guys. I couldn't get to my Streamlabs in time. And if I rush to Streamlabs, I guarantee I'll end up clicking end stream or something by accident. GG Snore says, how often do you still fly in real life? Well, seeing as I'm in the UK, not much at the moment. Over the year, there have been times where flying has returned a bit, but it's pretty quiet at the moment, sadly.
The Madrid Beauty 5 Tango Charlie, can we get 15 minutes of appropriate, please? Beauty 5 Tango Charlie, no problem, report when you back. Report perfect, Tango Charlie, thanks.
Eddie Eel says, hi, is the ToLiss A320 download the best add-on for X-Plane? I haven't tried the flight factor, but it's a very good one. The ToLiss is very good. Very good. It has the best interaction for the Airbus FCU that I've used. I haven't tried the flight factor. I will try it. I'm going to wait for it to be on sale, or maybe not. Maybe we'll get it anyway, as it's had the performance improvement. But this 2 dots, 1 dot thing is genius. It works so well. They've done an amazing job on this sort of FCU, and it's such a key part of the Airbus being able to push and pull. And this is the one add-on where I feel like I can click on things, and I generally manage. Yeah, it's really nice. Harryman1544 says, hi Captain, thanks for all your tutorials and live streams. Have you ever encountered a serious fault while flying IRL? How do you deal with it? We do serious faults in the sim. In real life, serious? I would say no, not serious. I've had some things happen, a few failures, but nothing serious. Serious is something you hope never happened to you in your career. If you're unlucky, maybe once. And even then, they tend to not be, you know, they tend to be very safe, but just sort of quite serious events, but no. The FL180 says, I must say though, you got pretty lucky with a few viral hits that blew up the channel. Everyone being around. Yeah, so there were a few videos in the summer that, oh yeah, certainly. No, the community grew up, and then we got to 1,000 subscribers, and then I think we got just over 1,000. We're at sort of 1,300. I still remember it. I was so happy when we were at 1,300. And then Microsoft Flight Simulator, we had a few videos in that went quite high views, which changed the subscription numbers. But what was so nice was that so many people chose to subscribe from those videos, you know. So it's been great, and the community's I've been really proud of is how nicely the community has grown. You know, we grew quite quickly over that period, and yet the community stayed really pleasant, really friendly, really enthusiastic, and it's been a complete pleasure. Right, I need to go and set up the arrival here. So let's get on with that, and I will talk about I'll try and answer some more questions as we get going down. So we're going to Malaga. We've been told our arrival, so let's not miss our chance. Do we have any controllers there? Actually, let's have a look. No, I think we won't. Madrid has an ATIS on the way past, but that's it. Good, no problem. We have been told what to expect, though. So, not going to Birmingham. We are going to Malaga. Now, in real life, you would have done this earlier. I've done. This was a classic stable of the channel. Early on, I used to continuously leave this too late. So here's the weather: 1505, 130. So it's light winds, lovely winds, few 4,000, no problem there. 21 degrees in February, brilliant. I wish we could go for real. So there we go. ILS for 13 has a Cat 1. So that's all good. Nice long runway. Arrival. Volpe 2 kilo, we've been told. There it is. We've already entered this, but I'm just going to run through it with you guys. Volpe. If I go to, alright, there we go. Fill the screen. That's always a good start. Set this to plan. Zoom in. Okay. So we're going to start at Volpe. And I'm going to press constraints, and I can see if there's any constraints. So Volpe doesn't have any constraints actually, but I can see here we should be between 100 and flight level 250. So below 250, above 100. Luckily, it says 190, so that works out. We can see here. But yeah, you could put a constraint in. I could say, just because we're, for example, I could put in below 250. Out constraints, out error. Don't know why. Shouldn't be an issue with that. 192, and it's magenta, meaning it's going to make that restriction. Then there's a speed limit at D21, which is uniform 21, as we saw earlier. So it's going to reduce from 300 to 250 knots there, to max 250 knots, which is great. Then we go to Amigo, and from Amigo to the Martin VOR. Now that's what I'm missing. Okay, here we go. So earlier I said I need to put in a VIA. So ILS13 Zulu. Zulu being the most common one. Volpa 2 Kilo. By Amigo. There we go. So we're going from Amigo. Now if I set that should look better. Okay. Again, those transitions tend to be automatic in the real aircraft, but the ToLiss likes you to enter them every time. So there's Amigo, then the Martin VOR, and as you can see, these are the other arrivals. So that gets us to the Martin VOR. Let's go to our approach. ILS 213. Now this is an interesting approach. So Martin VOR. From there we go to Neper. As we can see, 5,000 feet on that leg. The computer has us at flight level 81 and 57, so that's all working. And then to all these different points, but essentially we're going to go 19.3 Gulf Mike, 16.5, and that's where we're picking up the localizer. And we're going to be 5,000 feet until our CF. Now this reckons 5,000 feet to CF13. Let's see, that is going to be... Try and get this right. That's going to be 11.7 GMM. Then we're going to descend. Down we go. So nothing too shocking there, but it is a lot of terrain. We have a lot of terrain issues as we descend. So let's load in these MSAs. And this is something we do very often. Pick a waypoint, any waypoint. Then go to fix info. This is based on the MLG VOR. Oh. So let's put in MLG. Oh no. Make sure you spell it right. MLG. It's the closest one, 275 miles away. As we can see, that is the Malaga VOR. It's a 25-mile ring around it, just to show us, and we're coming in from this direction. So I'm going to put in the 127 and the 192. Oh no, no, I always do that. That's going to be the wrong way round. We need to do the reciprocals because of the way Jefferson charts are done. So that becomes obviously 012 and 307. There we go. Right, so if I go to flight plan now and zoom out, this is how we're going to check that we're safe. So I've got my restrictions on this arrival. Amigo above 6,000, Martin above 6,000, which I can see here. Then after Martin I can go down to 5,000, which is safe. And then once we get into that little quadrant here that we've drawn, it's not quite a quadrant, there we go. The MSA is 6.8, so we'll be below the MSA, but we'll be following the procedure, so it's safe. If we come off this procedure for any reason, we need to be at 6,800 feet. So if we get lost, or we lose navigational accuracy, or we're not sure where we are, I'm going to climb straight to 7,000. If we're really lost, I'm going to go up to flight level 90, the highest around there. So there we go. So we've got to descend in over this terrain, so we've got to be very careful with these descent restrictions, which will sort of step us down. But the airplane has a nice planned descent in there for us. Luckily, the wind isn't too strong left or right, so 80 knots actually is quite strong, but hopefully there's not too much of a tailwind at first. Andy's off for dinner, so thanks very much. Chip shop on the way home, excellent, enjoy your dinner. Thanks for coming along, and Ed as well, enjoy your dinner. And you're always very welcome, thanks for coming along. Elgin says, evening mate, I'm flying on VATSIM in the ToLiss A321N from Eddie's Bristol. Excellent, enjoy. Sadly, Bacon Warrior hasn't had a decent pizza in ages. Sorry to hear it. That's a shame. I do enjoy pizza. I do enjoy it a lot. I mean, who doesn't? Right. So, that's our plan for getting in. You'll notice then that the arrival is slightly odd because the ILS isn't tuned. The real one would tune it by now. But yeah, it's got a DME 132 195 Golf Mike Mike. It's steep. It's 3.2 degrees, and it descends with terrain beneath it. So it actually starts way out at 11.7, which is a long way for such a steep RS. It's not so steep, but it is a bit steeper. So yeah, we're going to intercept, and then we're going to descend down at 3.2. So in a heavy 321, what weight are we now? We're 74 tons, still pretty heavy. I want to be flap 1 and below 200 knots passing this point, this 11.7, and that is a must. Because if I'm below 200 knots, the magic is, if I see that the speeds are still increasing as I start down, so flap 1 on idle thrust, if the speed is still increasing, I can put out flap 2 because I'm below 200 knots, because that's the limit speed. So that's the advantage there. Brittany Silver, thank you very much for your €5 donation. Very kind of you. Thanks for supporting the channel as always, Brittany. Thanks for coming along to another stream. Brittany says, Lizzo5, Andy H1302 and Victor Tango would love to take you out for pizza night when this is all over. Also, can you do a demo PA like you would do IRL? Now, that is... that's very kind of you. I'd love to go out for some pizza. So, yeah, hopefully in the future we'll have to do a big... imagine that if we could do a big meet and greet. But thank you very much for your donation. Really appreciate it. And, yeah, it would be a very nice evening, it sounds like. But can you do a demo PA like you would do it in real life? I'll save that for the future. The reason is, pilots who make... When you make your announcement to the passengers, it tends to be incredibly scripted. And I don't mean the company scripts it. I mean, people have their own pattern that they follow. And it needs to be like that because things are dynamic and you want it to sound professional and so on. So you can sort of fit in the information that changes, like the time, the destination, so on, around it. If I was to give you one of my normal PAs, I don't know what I would say right now because it's almost like I'm on autopilot when I say it, which sounds bad, but I mean it in the sense that it's such a flow. I just go from one stage to the next. So I won't say it now. I'll have to think of one to give you guys at some point. I'll probably say something I shouldn't. But thank you for your donation, Brittany. Really kind. James Keats, thank you for your $10 donation. Hope you're doing well in America. Thank you, very kind of you. James says, finally convinced me to get a Navigraph subscription after the infamous Immerk stream and follow-up video. Now I just have to learn how to read all these charts. Thank you very much, James. It's just some videos take a bit of time to sort of come together in my head before I do them, especially on such massive topics such as charts. So, yeah, thank you very much for your donation, James. Glad you're enjoying it, and thank you for your donation. Really appreciate it. Very kind of you. So thank you, Bruni, and thank you, James. Very kind. Very kind of you guys. Thank you. Siegfried says, having an actual iPad next to you IRL is so nice when reading charts in the sim. Yeah, no, having the tablet there is great. Dairy-free pizza isn't the same as Bacon Warrior. Ah, that's a shame. Yeah, that is a shame. Lee's already finished the curry. That was a good curry. Well, I bet it was, but that was very quick. That can't have been big enough. I hope there's more left over. So yeah, MSA is the minimum. Well, there's all sorts of terms: minimum safe altitude, minimum sector altitude. It depends which set of charts you're using. SKW says the out error must be a bug. Okay, good to know. Yeah, I would. There's no reason that shouldn't have worked there, and it seems to be working fine. The airplane seems to have accepted it. User says, what does the magenta star... Oh, there you go. You can see my constraint. Although I put in a flight level, so it should say FL250, I believe. But there we go. What does the star mean before the... shortly before the star, the cross on the ND. Magenta cross. Is there a magenta cross? I haven't seen it. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Sorry. So apologies. To user. Yeah, sorry. I'm not sure what you mean by the magenta star. Magenta cross, sorry. Birdman says, what are the differences in the Zulu and Yankee ILS approaches for the same runway? Also, I think you said Zulu is the best one. Is that generally true? Yes. So Zulu approaches are the most commonly used. That's why they are labelled Zulu for that reason. The differences will be depending, it will vary on the airport. So let's put out the Yankee for 1-3. This is how I make a mistake later if I get the wrong one. But let's have a look. There'll be a subtle difference. Often the go-around, for example, the go-around for the Zulu is climb a runway heading to 2.4 MLG, whereas this one is climb a runway heading to 2.1 AGP, then turn left, intercept 1, 2, 3. So probably this one is used when the VOR is out of service. For example, the main VOR, the main nav aid is the MLG VOR. So it's an approach based on a different VOR. That's quite common. That's why there's a Yankee. So you've got to back up. And you can see even the MSAs are based off the AGP. And the AGP is actually down here. So I've got this totally wrong. The our MSAs are being based on the the MOG, which is here. So there's lots of nav aids actually here, but that's why. But the Yankee Zulu will be the most commonly used, so let's keep that one up. All right, Alexander, thank you very much for your donation. Really appreciate it. Here's the pair, made an appearance, excellent, with a cup of coffee. Lovely. Thank you very much, Alexander. Really appreciate it. Thanks for coming along and supporting the channel. Really kind. User says, no, not on your ND. I had this today on my flight in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I'm not sure. I'd have to have a look. There's lots of bugs in Flight Simulator still, of course. Dan Len says, hello. Hope you're doing well. Thank you very much, Dan. I'm doing well. I hope you are. Brianni says, I'm still butchering their name. I do apologise. I'll have to Google that name. Make sure I get it right. Kai says, why is there still no UK update? Ah, well, sounds like it's a bit delayed. So there we go. So 10 miles out, or sorry, 11.7 miles out, I need to be below 200 knots, flap 1, to make sure I can use flap 2 if I need it. So I'm going to say 180 knots. 180 knots, flap 1. And then we can go down like that. We'll probably need flap 2 once we start down the ILS, because it's slightly steeper. I'm almost certain, but we shall see how it handles. If we need to go around, good old ToLiss has it all in here. Plan, zoom in. We go out to D 2.5, 2.4 MOG. Then we make that intercept to go on the 102 out to Zilvi to hold. Max 230 knots, mandatory 2,200. Do not climb above 2,200. Follow ATC instructions. Yeah, so there you go. Unusual. A low going altitude of 2,200 feet. Right, so that's our flight plan checked. We do our little hat now. Flight plan, RADNAV, progress per fuel secondary. So flight plan's checked. RADNAV then, we need to check the ILS comes in. Otherwise, I'm going to leave it to auto-tune because, frankly, I'm going to navigate using the VORs on the screen anyway. LEMG 13 is the landing runway, so I'm going to put that in there to give our distance. 202 miles to go, so I know we're pretty much straight in from here, so I need to descend it. Let's work it out. 35 times 3 would be 90, 105. We don't have much of a tailwind, so 105 plus 10, 115. We need 115 miles at the latest. I need to be definitely starting down. Performance page then, let's put it in. Just refresh that. So, calm wind still. Funnily enough, it's just turned into a bit of a tailwind. It's a northerly at 3. Ooh. In this case, if I have a tailwind while I fly that ILS, I'm going to put out flap 2 before I start down the glide slope because the speed will accelerate away from me otherwise. The reason is to maintain that glide slope, because that glide slope is based, it's a fixed position over the ground. If we have a strong tailwind, we have to descend faster to maintain it, and then the speed will start to run away, and it's a sort of a cycle. So yeah, lovely and warm, 19 degrees, QNH 1019. So there's a high QNH today. That's good news. I would set that on here, but does it work? Oh, it does work. So yeah, let's set that on here. 1019, ready to go. And that's in there. VAP 146. So yeah, we're heavy, so we'll go for flat full, medium auto brake. Minima. ILS minima. Cat C 295. In it goes. We've got the visibility, all looking good. For the go around, I'm just going to put 2,200 in there because that is our acceleration altitude in the event of a go around. Sorry, our level off in the event of a go around, not our acceleration. It's only our acceleration in a go-around if we're doing it single engine. But there we go. Fuel prediction, plenty of fuel. We've got an extra 1.6 tons, so we've saved a bit of fuel throughout the flight. Just copy the active over into there. So there we go. That is the current plan. Light tailwinds. So we're going to go for a still idle reverse because of that. Again, you'd have to use a performance calculator in real life. But the reason we're going to do idle reverse is because it's dry, and if we look at the length of the runway, we're going to land 1-3. It's a 3,200 meter runway. So with medium auto brake, we'll heat up the brakes quite a lot, but then we'll be able to come off at Echo 2 and go and find our parking stand. To be honest, even with a tailwind, I think low would get us off at Echo 1. You'd calculate it a bit better than I'm doing here, but I'm just going to go medium to make sure we can make one of those comfortably. But idle reverse, because with medium it's going to slow down so quickly. If we wanted to keep the brakes as cool as possible, and there are some days where you might want to do that. For example, if we didn't have brake fans. In this situation, I would go flat full. You want as much drag, so flat full. Low auto brake and max reverse. And that way the reversers can take more of the strain. But it's not very efficient. It just helps keep the brakes cool. I need to pronounce the name. It says Brianni Silver. Always hopeless. Chef's Dad, thanks for coming along. I hope you're doing well. Dan Len says, the shorter the runway, the higher the flex temps. No, the shorter the runway, the lower the flex temp. So you'll use a lower number in there. The higher the flex temp, the less thrust you'll get from the engines on takeoff. Victor Tango, you got to serve the cat, absolutely. Stu would like a vodka and coke in 4A. I'm sure that could be arranged. Roger Moore says, what FPA is for the 3 and 1 rule? The 3 and 1 rule would be 3 degrees, so that would be a 3 degree FPA. Aircraft, I like the 757, I like the 340, the 380. In terms of airliners, yeah, but there's loads. There's so many airplanes I like. If you put me in an airplane, the chances are I'm going to like it. The editor says, are you off the network? No, we should be on the network. Have I got disconnected? I've been disconnected. I got disconnected. That's silly. Thanks for spotting that. Oh, right. I need to check in. We had lost a bit of internet there, it seems. Control apologies. Kestrel 253. We lost connection for a bit there. We're still maintaining 350 to Monto decimal 74. Good. Okay, we got away with that. Yeah, not sure what happened there. Very strange. Glad you're enjoying it, Dougal. Thanks for coming along. Brianni says the first one was perfect. Is that Brianni then? Birmingham got disconnected too, yeah. Stu says, like JMC 757. Yeah, well, the JMC 757 I wanted to fly on the stream, but I never found a working livery for it, which is why Paddy very kindly made us a JMC livery in Flight Simulator 2020. So, yeah.
Thank you for Madrid Center, 7240 out.
I'm from the UK, Dan, then. Yeah, I am indeed. Jimmy Crowley would like to see Monarch A300. Yeah, we could do that on the stream. Mateo says, why to use flap 3 instead of full? Flap 3 could be useful if you've got a nice long runway it's a nice way to land. It uses less power on approach, so it's a bit more efficient because you can have less thrust on final approach. So it's a bit quieter, a bit more efficient. And in the 321, it can be a bit easier to land in flap 3. Yeah, it's nice. But we're heavy and we've got a tailwind, so it's not suitable for today. So, how are we doing? 150 miles to go. Yeah, still looking good. Bit of a headwind. Danny Roble says, you're not afraid when you talk through the PA, you say something company related. Indeed. Yeah, well, exactly. Exactly, that's the concern. Dan Len says, okay, I'll head out now. Nice catching one of your streams. Stay safe out there. See you around. See you around, Dan. Thanks very much for coming along. Another vote for the Monarch A300. And I suspect we've got a fan of Monarch retro liveries. We've got window seat as an ex-Monarch engineer, so they'll probably enjoy it. Victor Tango's back. Good to see you. Danny, we are going to land on runway 13 in Malaga.
Going to 200.
Bacon Warrior says, might bring the 722 down here one day. Dan Air livery must travel. Yeah. And I want to pick up the 737-200 for a stream. What do you guys think? Would that be a good one to watch? I've never flown it. We've never flown a 737 on stream, but 737-200, I've heard good things from our Andy. There we go. Thank you very much, Brianni, for your €2 donation. So proud of you, Brianni. You did it perfectly. That's excellent. Finally, we got there. I've tried so many times, so many combinations. Brianni. Yeah, very good. Thank you very much, Brianni, for your donation. Really appreciate it. Thanks for supporting the channel so enthusiastically and being a part of the community. Brianni. Oh, I'm sure I'll get it wrong again very soon. Thank you very much. Really appreciate the donation, Brianni. Lee says, I got to pick up the A300, but that's expensive. Yeah, the A300 is pricey. Sometimes it's on sale. The Beluga is coming out soon, I hope. Well, I don't know if it's soon, but it's in the works. And you won't need the base package for that. Victor Tango says, go for it. A full VOR to VOR flight. Yeah, we could do that in the 737. Good fun. I mean, it'll be easier to fly to a VOR than it will be for me to use the INS, I'm sure. Andy would love to do the 200, yeah. Mike is waiting for a sale, yeah, excellent.
Going direct Congo Lima Delta Kingfisher 22.
Bacon Warrior says if it's as good as the 722, it will be amazing. Yeah, I hear good things. It's Fly J Sim, isn't it? They're very good things. Sean Lewis says, I just pulled my flight plan from Simbury for the first time in the A320 NEO. I feel like a god. Yeah, well done. Excellent. Yeah, I have a little tutorial on that, or guide, I suppose, not really tutorial, on MCDU update video. Hello, Van der Veen would like the 737-2. Excellent. Vucci2 says, oh no. Says, if we're moaning about pronunciation, it's Vati, as in Butty. Been like that for 65 years. I do apologise, Butty. I hope I managed to remember that one as well. Brianni and Vati too. Thank you very much for your £5 donation. Really appreciate it, Vati. That's going to be hard. I've been saying Vuti for so long now. Vuti 2 flowed so well with the 2 afterwards, you see. Vati 2. Thanks very much for your donation. Really appreciate it to Vati and Brianni. And I can only apologise for how I've been butchering both of your names all this time. I'm sure I'm doing it to lots of people out there now. We're gonna reveal all of the people who've been politely not telling me how bad I've done the name. Lee, which I'm probably saying wrong, Ellis says, how about the L1011? Yeah, the TriStar. I would love a TriStar. There just isn't one available for us in X-Plane, sadly. But yeah, fascinating airplane. I am excited. I think we're getting an MD-11. But that's a long way off, I imagine. But yeah, an MD-11 one day. Oh, I missed something. Descend flight level 290. Kestrel 253. I did indeed. Right, they're starting us down. 290. It's a little bit early for my descent, so I'm going to start down. So here's some things we need to think about. Vertical speed minus 1,000. We've got the 290 blue and armed, so that's all good. But with important to remember that we are slow. We're not following the descent profile the aeroplane would like us to do. So we're going to need more track miles if we have to descend slow because there's less drag. So I'm going to ask for Kestrel 253, are we still speed limited to .74? Probably. Roger, Kestrel 253. So let us, if I go to performance, and if I put .74 into managed, .74, let's do 250, like that. It is allowed in the real airplane. And what it would do is it would recalculate your descent based on that speed, and then you wouldn't get high like we are going to. So if we're forced to descend slow, we need to descend a bit earlier. So I'm going to actually... this is a bit of a balancing act because we are limited, but if I'm perfectly on this profile, I'll end up a little bit high later on. William, thank you very much for your £5 donation. Really appreciate it. Just plain old William here. Thanks for the awesome content, by the way. Love it. That's very kind of you, William. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And William is one I can do. But thank you very much for your £5 donation. Very kind of you. Thanks for coming along and supporting the channel, William. Yeah, very kind of you guys. Doc Retro says, learning some right names seems to be a good income. Yeah. Exactly. Leah. There we go. Leah. Bacon Warrior says, try jets for the win. Excellent. Chick Point. No, there's no confusion with Chick Point either. James Keats says, you've got my name right at least. Excellent. Jonathan Gorse Photography says, as a fellow A320 pilot, currently long-term sick, I'm really enjoying your channel. It's made me realise how much I miss the job, if not the 4 AM starts. Thank you very much. Really kind of you to say, Jonathan Gorse. I hope you get back to work soon. Really kind of you. And yeah, sorry to hear you're not able to work, but likewise, no one's flying much at the moment, I don't think. But yeah, hope you get to soon. And, you know, it's done the same for me. It's really reminded me how much I enjoy flying. So yeah, thank you very much for saying so. Thanks for coming along and watching. Oscar, thank you so much for your donation. That's very kind of you, Oscar. Now, is that Oscar? Oh, I don't want to get the surname wrong now. But thank you very much, Oscar, for your €20 donation. Really appreciate it. The pair has reappeared. You are amazing. It's very kind. Thank you so much. Really kind, Oscar. Really appreciate it. Very kind of you. And yeah, thanks for the support on the channel. That's really generous. You guys are always too generous. So very kind. Thank you. Lauren V's says MD-11 is significantly less cool than the L1011. Yeah, I could agree with that. If we get the a L1011 in this sim or Microsoft, then I will fly it in America for sure, because they had some of the best liveries for it in my opinion, including the ATA livery. Yeah, really want to fly that. Santiago Perez says, I really like how you pronounce my name. I feel like I'm back in my British school. Oh dear. Presumably I'm doing that one slightly wrong as well, at least slightly wrong. But yeah, I'm glad you like it. Richard Sango says, it reminds me of the sketch in the Young Frankenstein movie. There we go. Yeah. But yeah, thank you all so much. Thank you for the support. Thank you again to Oscar for your donation. Very kind.
297 is clear 13 vacating Echo 1.
Jeff Mitton would like DC-10. Yeah, DC-10 would be cool. So, anyway, right, let's get down. First side open descent. And we've only got 2,000 feet to go, so we're going to be limited now. Oh, I think that traffic's behind us now. So there's a problem here, whereas if there's traffic beneath us for the whole descent, we may get slow speeds and kept high depending on what the traffic in front does. So let's see what happens. We'll manage. We just have to manage it. That's our job. That's why we're here. So the airplane thinks we're high. We're about to level off. Now I wouldn't descend at this rate of descent because there could be traffic right beneath us if we're getting these step descents. But it looks like they've vanished. Well, they're a long way beneath us now. Continue descent flight level 150, Kestrel 253. What speed would you like on conversion?
Kestrel 253, if possible, 300 knots.
300 knots, Kestrel 253. Oh, that's good news. That's better than I thought. So that's going to make it quite simple. So we'll do thrust idle open descent, and we're allowed to convert to 300 knots, which is what I actually already put in. So now, because that's going to be the correct speed, we're going to match our profile. We will be a bit high. We're going to be 2,000 feet high. So I'm going to have to keep the, we have to use a bit of speed brake. Oh no, here come the, okay, I'm just going to put the alert box off for a second because it's going to ding so much. But yeah, we're going to descend to 150. That's looking good. Right, thank you for your subscriptions to Goonie, Goxonin, oh my goodness, I'm getting these names wrong. Sam, Simi, E.T., Maverick, Red, Nausey, Ahmed. Thank you so much for your subscriptions. If you're watching, I really appreciate it. And thank you for coming along. And I'm sorry that your subscriptions didn't show up properly earlier. But yeah, I'll just mute that one for a bit. It's terrible it does that. I do apologise, guys. It works on all the other aspects. Right, so we are following our speed profile. So we're doing our 300 knots. That's all fine. We are 81 miles out. So we need 75. We need 85 miles. So we're a little bit high. And we're doing 300 knots. So that's pretty fast. So I think, getting back in this profile is a good plan. It seems to be slowly getting there. So I'm going to let it do it. What I could do is, to help it do that, is go manage descent. And there we go. Now it can accelerate, get a bit more drag out of it, and get back to that profile. So within 1,300 feet, I think it could probably do it. It will tell us as well if it can't, which is always nice. Anyway, yeah, after landing, vacate left, go and park. Sorry, I should always talk about that bit. Right, let's see where we're doing. We're going to come into Volpe soon. Here we go. Leah says traffic behind you is me. Excellent. Oh, apparently there is a good L1011 X-Plane 11. Very good. What is the dashed blue line on the nav screen? These are lines I put in. They are fixed info radials. So if you go flight plan, select your waypoint, then select fixed info. I put in a waypoint or the VOR. Go ahead, Kestrel 253. Volpe 3 Juliet, runway 31, Kestrel 253. Well, that's great because that is classic my streams. That has happened on so many streams. And we talked about it, that tailwind and the potential. So they've changed the runway. No problem. No problem. Just make sure Streamlabs is up and running again. Okay. Let's see. Right, so RS31. 250 knots, Kestrel 253. That's added a bit of time to our flight, but no problem. Right, and that 250 knots is slow. So I've selected 250 to get it to actually slow down. You see we regained our profile. I have to go to open descent. But we have a lot more track miles now, actually, because we've got to go to the other side of the runway. So let's pull that vertical speed and go to 1,000 feet per minute. That way we'll slow down to 250 knots quite quickly, so we'll stop catching the aeroplane in front. Now let's go back to this. Let's select the Avitab. Right, not doing that arrival anymore. Yeah, so I did. I promise I thought about it. And I thought I should probably brief the other one and have it ready. But there we go. Quite straightforward. Right, there we go. We can fill the screen. So now we're going to go Volpe to Martin. And then from Martin, we're going to go to Correct. So let's select the Volpe 3 Juliet via Etrov or Pisav. There's someone doing their best with the jet set, which I'm very proud of. The jet set call sign. That's great to hear. Really good. But yeah, sometimes some difficulty with air traffic control. Who won't remember it?
253, contact Malaga approach
118.45 jet set 253. Sorry, Kestrel 253. Thanks. There we go. I've been thinking about jet set too much. 118.45. Okay. Kestrel 253, good evening. We are descending flight level 150, 250 knots to Martin.
Kestrel 253, hello, radar contact, descend flight level 990, flight direct correct, join the Pushback 3 Juliet runway 31.
Descend flight level 90, direct correct, and join the Volpet 3 Juliet runway 31, Kestrel 253. Okay, that's correct, so that's fine. So then, let me just check the approach. ILS Zulu 31. That looks to go via Etrov. So let's do that. And insert. Select heading track first. Right, yeah, of course. So there we go, heading track. Now we can insert. Now we go back to nav. And that just brings us round. So you can see we're now going to be low, and there's our vertical deviation way above us. Because, for obvious reasons, we're now going to have to fly all the way past the airport. Now, this is a really nice approach in real life. You come in over the bay with the mountains on our left, so hopefully it looks nice in the sim. Let's do direct to correct, which we were cleared for, which will shave a few track miles off. Yeah, so MSA's still based on the MLG VOR, so that's all good. MLG, and now we're going to have 4,200 on the 344. No problem there. But basically, we're going to need to be visual with the water, but as we head out over these hills, the MSA drops very fast, so it's actually going to be 8.5 for a lot of this. So we're only going down. Oh, we will clear down to 90 as well. Flight level 90. So we're going down to 90, which is above the MSA, which is great. And it's important it is above the MSA because remember, we have come off that procedure. If we were flying this procedure perfectly, I could follow these and I could go down to flight level 8.5, which actually is the MSA anyway. But yeah, we're going to follow that. So they could clear us down to 8.5 and that would be fine. Now there is an exception to this, which is air traffic control sometimes have slightly better or lower altitudes they are allowed to use, and it depends if that chart's included or not, but that's hard for us to judge. There you go, reference. So these are the air traffic control ones. Now we can see where we are, but not all airliners have this feature. And you'll see there's these very thin slices. And this is all based on, in this case, it looks like it's based on, what is it based on? It looks like Malaga, but you can't really tell. This stuff is not designed for us to navigate by. It's for air traffic control to use. But they may descend us lower. You can see that they can actually put us into 7,000 in this area, whereas our chart tells us, doesn't give us that 7, it gives us 8.5. So this is sort of a simplistic version, whereas they have lower ones. But that's only if they've got radar contact and they're controlling us. Anyway, let us finish setting up. So this ILS is a bit more simple even so. It's got 3-degree ILS. So we're going to get down low platform. Look at that, intercept at 5 miles. So let's check it's done that right. GAA 1099, 1099, 312 course. There it is. Low platform. So we're going to need to be at 5 miles. I want to be flat 2, gear down, manage speed, certainly below 150 knots. So basically configured as we start down at this point. Bacon Warrior, thank you very much for your £5 donation. Really appreciate it. Bacon Warrior says this is towards the 732. Really want to see that. Yeah, that'd be great fun. I'd love to do that as well. So thank you very much, Bacon Warrior. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thanks for your support for the channel. And thank you again to Oscar earlier as well. But thank you, Bacon Warrior, for your £5 donation. Very kind of you. And yeah, 732 seems to be a popular choice. There we go. We're starting to see the ground. Excellent. So thank you very much for your support. Callum R says, love the Kestrel call sign. Which ICAO are you using? Every time I use it on VATSIM, they just call me Thomas Cook. Yeah, so I'm using MYT for My Travel. I didn't even talk about My Travel. I've got the Wikipedia facts for you guys. Let's finish this arrival, then we'll talk about My Travel. So that's the plan. We're going to go out, round over these hills, descend out in the bay, back in. It could get a bit of a shortcut, so I need to be ready to cut this corner. But we can't descend early to be ready for that too much because, of course, the hills. Then we go out by Etrov, back in. The trap here is this low or late intercept of the glide slope. It happens at 5 miles if we're down at the platform altitude. So we have to be ready for that. Let's put in the performance. So QNH, this should all be the same. We can recheck it. Straight in landing for runway 31. What's our missed approach climb gradient? Again, you will need to know this. Your airline or you'll have some performance figures to work this out. As ever, we are always exceptionally well qualified in Manta Airlines or whichever aircraft I'm in. So I'm going to put the lowest case one, 320, because it just sounds so perfect for our channel, doesn't it? 320, there it goes. So you can see 4%. We need a climb gradient of 4%, and that's on one engine, remember. If we were heavier or we had some restriction, then it could be 3 or even 2.5%. But you can see the minima is much higher for the reason that you're closer to the terrain, because there's lots of terrain when you head off the off this side beneath us now. Right, there we go. We're not going to circle with 3 degrees. And the go around is worth talking about. A nice confusing go around there again. Out to the MLG, then make that left turn 239 to intercept the 269, out to 7.7 MLG, and then make a right turn intercept the 327 up to Martin. Max 210 in the turn, so we may need to leave flat 1 out. Let's have a look. Yeah, so flat 1 will have to stay out. The slats will have to stay out for that turn because we'll be back at 210 knots. The airplane should do that automatically, but definitely we'll check it. And then we need to hold at 6,000 feet because, of course, in this case, there's a lot of terrain. So I'm going to put the engine house acceleration at 6,000. That's because if we have an engine failure, we do not want to level off and accelerate at 1,000 feet above the runway, because if we do it on single engine, we'll be doing it level, and that will be very bad with that terrain in front of you. Right, so
Speedbird 205, the wind 28010, clear to land runway.
approach 320.
Clear to 12, Speedbird 05.
Ah, the Speedbird 05 gets to land on the 12. There we go. That's the performance. Flight plan, RadNav, progress. Let's change this around. It's easy to forget this and then misjudge your distance. Andy, thank you very much. Andy H1302 for your £5 donation. Another donation towards the 737-200 funds. This simply has to be done. Really kind. Thank you very much, Andy. Really appreciate it. And yeah, okay, the people have spoken. 7372 is a desired airplane to see. We had this with the A350 as well, I remember. So yeah, absolutely.
Good evening, Jet Set 15
There's Jet Set. Excellent. What am I doing wrong here?
Jet Set 15, sorry, station call in Malaga?
There we go. MG31, performance, fuel. Still got lots of extra fuel even with that route, and we'll just copy the active over. Thank you very much, Andy, for your donation. Really appreciate it, and thanks for moderating and supporting the channel so much over the months. And thank you. And yeah, 737-200 then. That wants to be done in the future.
Correct. Join the Pushback 3 Juliet. Jet Set 15 Hotel Juliet.
My travel 253, descend flight level 80.
Descend flight level 80. My travel 253. That's nice. 80. Now that is below our MSA. We are visual, so that's one way we can get away with it today. But yeah, we said that in this area, it's actually 6.8 and then it becomes 8.5. So it's currently 6,800 feet. So we better stay visual. I'm a little surprised at that descent clearance. Let's look at where we're routing. So 7,000, 8.5. So I'm going to wind that vertical speed right back to 500 feet per minute, because I think we're going to cut through. Now we may go into this section. The controller will know a lot more about this. So if he cuts us tight enough by going to Correct, you see we're going to go from 5.8 in this little sector. And then the number 2 is 6.5, so that's fine. So 5.8, 6.5. And then we'll be in this one which is going to be 5.5. And you'll see that will all keep us just scraping those altitudes. So that'd be very neat controlling if that's what's going on. I'm going to bring up the LS buttons as we're below 10,000 feet. Put those landing lights on. Put the seatbelt signs on. Yeah.
My travel 253, flight direct Etrov.
Direct Etrov, my travel 253. I'm glad he knows that.
I called you back in 5 miles for lower, minimum in the area.
Roger, my travel 253. we'll stick with the my travel. I like that. Although they used Kestrel. Right, direct to Etrov. That's not worked. What have I done there? I've not seen that before. Let's try that again. Direct to Etrov. Why is it trying to go behind us? I can see it's going to get that wrong. It's sequenced. Etrov's in front. I've never seen that. Very odd. Right, what I'm going to do is just change the arrival. Now, one pilot needs to focus on the flying here. So I'm going to cut it left. We know we're safe at 8,000, and we know the train's beneath us as long as we go to Etrov. So now I'm going to put in the arrival.
Travel 253, descend altitude 4,000 feet, QNH 1019.
So 4,000 feet, QNH 1019, my travel 253. Right.
Italia 17 Alpha, descend flight
4,000 feet, set that QNH 1019, which is set, checked. Right, let's put in direct to, let's type it in because that's what we're cleared to do, Etrov. Etrov, insert. Now we're going to nav and it'll fly us to Etrov. So that's keeping us safe. So now we're doing the right thing. Now I'm going to change the arrival. Airbus Zulu 131. Don't need the star anymore, but I need via Etrov. Insert. Now that shouldn't be a problem because we're going to the right point, but there we go. Insert. Now it's going to Bravo Lima November.
Alitalia 17 Alpha, flight direct to Etrov.
Direct Etrov,
So I'm going to go direct Etrov. There we go. Right, we got there. So we're going to Etrov. We're going to 4,000 feet. We got the hills beneath us, but he's cut us carefully inside, which is very neat controlling. So that is all good. Sorry, Dougal. Yeah, that was a bit of a mess. I wasn't expecting to see quite a few issues. But here we go. So we're going to go to Etrov. So we can forget that chart now. And then we'll fly round and back in. I'm expecting this controller to cut us in. So let's get down. Thrust idle open descent. Let's activate that approach phase, which it already has done. I'm not sure why the airplane was trying to fly back on ourselves there. Very odd. Approach checklist. Briefing is confirmed. ECAM status is checked. No issues on the ECAM. Seatbelts are on. They are on. Power ref is on the QNH of 1019. MDA DH is set to 320 and engine mode selector can be at norm. Nice conditions out there. So that is all fine. Right. So that's worked out. We're coming in over these hills, obviously. And see, what's nice is the sun sets behind these hills. Very pretty. So we're a little bit high now. We're going to beam the airfield at, actually we're all right. 6,000 feet, 250 knots. That's good. A good place to be. We should be fine for altitude. We're going to have a headwind on landing now, so medium auto brake should still work, and we'll go idle reverse on those thrust reversers. We'd have the option to go low now because we're flying into that headwind. But if you see, the terminal's back here, so I don't want to go low and roll. I mean, we're going to go for Echo 5. You know what? I'm going to save the brakes and make it better for passenger comfort. We'll go flat full, low auto brake, and just roll out, and we'll take either of these, whichever is convenient, because it's not going to make much difference, and it will save a lot of brake wear, and also the passengers really feel, if you do a medium auto brake, you do feel it. It is stronger. So it's nicer for the passengers when we don't do that. Right, here we go then. We are looking real well below profile, all looking fine. So let's go to speed, vertical speed. Time to slow down soon, really. Let's get rid of that. William, back from dinner. Excellent. Thanks for coming back.
Italia 17 Alpha, descend 6,000 feet, QNH 1019.
So there's the runway. Lovely bay this, and yeah, we're going to head out, back round and in.
My travel 253, descend 3,000 feet.
Descend 3,000 feet, my travel 253. 3,000 feet. There it is, armed.
Go by the inner Lima Bravo, stand 31.
So the fact we're already cleared down to 3,000 tells me there's a chance we're going to get cut straight in. So I'm going to go manage speed and start slowing down the vertical speed. I'm just going to let it reduce in that speed as we come back round.
Speedway 253 has a reduced speed 220 knots, left heading 080 degrees.
What's that for us? I thought I had a different call sign.
Sorry, my travel 253, left heading 080 degrees.
Left heading 080 degrees, my travel 253.
Correct, and start reducing speed to 220 knots.
220 knots, my travel 253. Heading 080. 220 knots is our clean speed. That's all fine. Oh, let's bring up the reciprocal. Just to check the runway course, 132. There's that pull heading. We're going to 080 still. Now we have an extended center line, and our vertical profile will be judged accordingly. Okay. Coming together. So we're slowing down. We're below glide slope, 12 miles out, 3,000 feet. We've got loads of room here. So I'm going to reduce that rate of descent. Let's do 300 feet per minute. I thought we might get cut in a bit more, to be honest. Lovely. Oh, there's the aircraft carrier. Excellent. Good, it makes an appearance. It was there on our way up to Barra as well.
250 degrees, final clear ILS Zulu runway 31.
Left heading 250 degrees, cleared ILS Zulu 31. Kestrel 253. Right. 250.
So 26 Golf, hello, radar contact, fly heading 140 degrees, descent flight level 80.
Turn 140 degrees.
I mean, that's... I can't have heard that right. It must be 350. I heard 250, but that wouldn't make sense. It must be 35 for us to actually intercept the most commonly misinterpreted numbers, 3 and 2. And that's a classic example there. Right, we're clear for the ILS Zulu, so arm the approach. And that second autopilot. As we can see, we're about to level off. Cat 3 dual AP1 plus 2. Glide slope and localizer are blue and armed. We're 220 knots at 13 miles. Number 6, oh dear. That controller's going to have a fun time now. Now we're going to intercept that glide slope at 9 miles. We have a very light headwind, so I'm going to start slowing down. I'm just trying to balance this because we know there's traffic coming in behind. But if we get on that glide slope clean at 220 at this weight with that headwind, we'll have problems. So speed is checked, so let's go to flap 1. Now we get the higher flap 2 speeds, of course, because this is 321. So what are they doing? Flap 2 is 215. There we go. Yeah, so actually we've got a bit more buffer room. Lock star, all looking good. So let's, as I said, come back to 200 for that glide slope. There's a localizer. Glide slope star. So we're going to put in that going altitude of 6,000. In the NEOs, ToLiss have done it correct, and it's white now in the NEOs, but the old one still showed as blue. So that's a nice little detail as ever. Right, let's put out flap 2. Let's go to manage speed. And we have to start letting it slow down now. And we are a little bit fast. Let's make it an efficient approach, but let's put that gear down. It's going to be a bit noisy, but we're over the water. Just to make sure we get that speed back in time. That headwind's just not enough. 6 knots. So 180 at 8 miles is a good ballpark, so we're slightly fast at... Continue approach, my travel 253. There's a radio altimeter, comes alive at the same point, so that matches, so we know our QNH is set correctly, which is a good check. 180 at 7, so we're still 10 knots fast, but that's improving as the gear comes down. Still not using the speed brakes. So passing 2,000 feet, we're 170 knots with flap 2 and the gear down, no problems there. So let's arm the spoilers, we don't need those. the gear's going to do more than enough. Put those lights on.
My travel 26 Golf, descend 6,000 feet, QNH
He's using my travel. That's great.
100 degrees.
So my travel later became, it was part of Air Tours. Air Tours used the Kestrel call sign. Then they became my travel.
26 Golf.
They were my travel from, they were rebranded to my travel. They were Air Tours, became to my travel 2002. Joined Thomas Cook in 2008. That's when Thomas Cook, who was previously called Top Jet, they changed to Kestrel. They took the my travel Kestrel call sign for themselves, which I can understand. It is a pretty cool one. Right, let's get the rest of the flaps out. So flaps to 3, speed is good, flaps to full, cabin, ding dong. Right, there we go.
Kilo Fox Romeo 22, no problem with runway. You will vector for runway 3.
Right, landing checks, cabin is secured for landing, auto thrust is in speed mode. Go around altitude 6,000 feet set. Eco memo is landing the blue. Landing checks complete. We've got plenty of fuel if we need to go around. If we do go around, we're going to make sure we get it into nav quickly to fly these turns, keeping out flap 1 for that first turn at least, and then climbing straight up to 6,000. Going to go flat full, low water brake, idle reverse for this landing. There we go, we are stable at 1,000 feet. Just waiting for landing clearance now. Is there traffic?
253, the wind 28010, clear to land runway 31.
To land 31, Kestrel 253. There we go.
Jet set 15 hotel, descend 2000
Marker.
feet, left heading
Clear to land.
3, clear ILS, runway 31.
Let's give it a go. Slight wind from the right. We're in a heavy 321, light headwind. Autopilot off.
15 Hotel Juliet, when established, speed 180 knots.
Not much to do. But yeah, love this approach. You got on the left there, the mountains. And if the sun sets, it's setting right behind those at this time. Really nice approach. Okay. Still not doing anything. This is where the glide slope in X-plane is really sensitive. So a little bit down.
Kilo Fox Romeo 22, fly heading 1.
A little bit up. Not going to react to that. Just going to keep aiming at that touchdown zone.
Going 115, Kingfisher.
Seems to be a little bit out of line.
Alipea 17 Alpha, continue approach, wind 280 10 knots.
Continue approach from south.
30, 20, retard.
Idle thrust levers. Hold it there. And idle reverse.
My travel 26 Golf.
Spoilers. We've got reverse green. We got decel. And just let it roll out. Oh, it's taking its time to decelerate. See where the low water brake drops us off. Yeah, I'm going to take over. We're going to go for this exit. Echo 5. 50 knots, 40 knots. Oh, that's a bit aggressive. We're down at taxi speed, so let's go 4. Forward idle. Don't know how that worked out. Hopefully that worked out all right. Seemed right. A little bit of a float. So yeah, that's a little bit of a overflare. Okay, right. This poor controller's working very hard. So I'm going to get over the line. Oh, no, don't do that. Trying to use these pedals. I'm not used to using the pedals in X-plane at all, which is a new thing to me. It's traffic on final. Excellent news. Minus 67, there you go. Like I say, this software does like a float. It does always reward you with a low feet per minute. So, yeah, probably that's not the best technical landing we could have done there. Right, there we go. Welcome to Malaga. I've really enjoyed it. That's a lovely flight. And we're going to go and do the replay, of course. So do stick around. But, yeah, let's go and taxi in. Lots of colleagues to arrive just behind us. Now, I'm not sure. I wouldn't normally do this in real life, but I want to be pointing this way so we can see our colleagues arriving. The downside of this is if they vacate here in front of us, we are right in the way. Anyway, let's get the strobes off, landing lights off, disarm those ground spoilers, flaps to 0. He's working very hard, so I don't want to hassle him. So I'm just going to taxi in roughly to our colleague over there. And we'll probably actually be past them. There you go, it's 2 out on approach. Fantastic. We beat the Alitalia. Let's get the APU up and running. Sounds like the landing went okay. Excellent news.
Kestrel 253, continued Alpha and stand 37. Bye-bye.
Alpha, stand 37, Kestrel 253. Thank you and thanks for controlling. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Right.
Kilo Fox Romeo 22, start reducing speed to 10.
Yeah, he's still got lots of controlling to do. Right, Alpha's what we're on. Stand 37.
And Castro 26 Golf, you can continue descent 3,000 feet further with the glide.
Okay, I'm going to bring it to a stop here.
Descent 3,000 feet, Castle 26 Golf.
Right, we're on Alpha. Follow Alpha.
Jet 15 Hotel
Oh,
Juliet,
perfect.
continue
37's on the end of that
approach,
pier next to our colleague. Good
on
news.
Sherman,
Right,
the
so
wind
let's
will
get rid of that. Let's get rid of the predictive wind shear.
15 Hotel Juliet,
That doesn't have a middle position actually in real life.
minimum approach speed.
Can you get in runway view, please? We can see them guys landing over. Ah, yeah, good idea, good idea.
And Castle 26 Golf, you want us to maintain 210 knots.
Speed is yours, at least 200 knot until 10, 180 until 8, and 160 until 6.
Oops, sorry about this, guys. I've not done this before.
Say again instructions for Castle 26 Golf.
Yeah, standard
Oh,
speed,
lovely. That outside like a lovely approach and landing.
10 knots and 180
Expert
until
MD-80 flyer. Right, let's go and get ourselves out of the way because yeah, see if they vacated here would be very much in the way. Yeah, vacuum controller's doing a fantastic job.
Jet set 15 Hotel Juliet, expect a late landing clearance.
Expecting late landing clearance, Jet 15 Hotel Juliet.
Alitalia 17 Alpha,
Fantastic.
expedite
Oh, this is good fun, yeah. There's Alitalia. They seem to be they're on the way off. So that if they take the high speed, that'll be quicker than coming back on themselves.
10 knots, clear tail land, runway 31.
Quit line 31, Jet 15 Hotel Juliet.
Alitalia 17 Alpha, continue Alpha on...
I'm going to do it again. I know I'll let the airplane roll forward a bit, but this is really hard trying to taxi my feet. Who was in the ND-80? Yeah, I don't think it was Matteo today. I'm not sure though.
On the right or on the left? Sorry.
So this is the first choice, which is great.
Right Alpha entry 5, right on south.
Kilo Fox Romeo 22, descend 3,000 feet.
Going to 3,000.
That seems like a bit of a connection issue. The spoilers came up earlier.
Left heading,
But lovely. There we go. First choice is down as well. Let's get out of the way.
Fly heading
Fantastic.
0 degrees.
Thank you guys for flying along. It's great fun when people do that. Let's get ourselves underway. Martin Scott says, just caught the last part of the stream. We'll watch it all later. Awesome as always, and thanks. And already looking forward to the next one. Thanks for coming along. Really appreciate it. Yeah, that should be a first choice, I think. The jet set. Or I always fly them as Air 2000s. But I have flown them as first choice as well.
Right again to join Alpha.
There's 37. Fantastic ground markings as ever in X-Plane.
Golf 6 and stand to 8.
My brakes are definitely a bit too sensitive. That is something I need to work on. Need to figure out the pedals. They don't seem set quite right. Right, straight into 37. There's the My Travel Who beat us here. Very good. Yeah, we're going to get all the arrivals. This is great fun. Right, arriving onto stand 37. Get those lights off. AP is available, and we'll also check that brake pressure and accumulator. All good. Oh dear. No. Not that much. I'm terrible. I'm using the pedals at the same time as the side stick because it's just yeah. I've been so used to using the side stick. Anyway, we need to get that. We need to get the main wheels over the middle. Now we can go right. Put that yellow line in between the screens, and I think we'll be pretty much there. Is there traffic landing? Shortly. We will make sure we're out there for that.
Astral 22, continue with that heading. You will see the runway at your 11 o'clock. Call me when you have the runway inside.
Oh, is that Kestrel doing a...
I will call you when I have the runway inside at 11 o'clock. I programmed the ILS on my...
a visual.
I confirm runway
Yes.
30.
Well, we won't go any further than that. We've got that engine to watch out for. There we go. Right, so we're come to a stop. Parking brake is set. APU is available. And I can use my fancy pants thrust levers to shut down. Checking again. Definitely available. Off. Off. Fantastic. And there's that clunk, which is realistic. That is what happens. Have I missed anyone landing? Hopefully not. Let's get the beacon off. Seatbelt signs off. I should have checked, of course, those are spooled down properly. But there we go. Right. What traffic is still left to come? There's quite a few. Let's see this last my travel, and then we'll go and do our replay. But yeah, thank you all for coming along, guys. I hope you enjoyed the flight. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for all the questions and chat. Thank you so much for the support as well, and the donations. Really appreciate it. Thank you to the mods for coming along and working so hard for it. And yeah, I've had a really good time. And there we go. There's Kestrel 26 Golf. Yeah, and I the Alitalia. There's Monarch. We missed the Monarch. That's annoying. Monarch flying in the Coljet. There, Monarch 420 made it along. And last one we'll do in this stream, in our mixture of liveries, another Kingfisher livery, it looks like. Glad you enjoyed it, Dougal. Thanks for coming along. You're very welcome, AC455. Great. This is really nice. This was a nice set of airports. Someone suggested Birmingham, and I know Andy was keen on Birmingham, but it was nice that we had space for us all to get out, and you know, we end up in big queues when we're in Gatwick or places because we're too big of a group these days. So there we go. Lovely. My travel reclaiming its place in the the holiday market here. Right, I'm going to disconnect from VATSIM. Thank you all so much. Enjoy your dinner, Victor Tango. Thanks for coming along. Thanks for sticking with it. This was a long one, but I really appreciate it. I'm going to disconnect and let's jump into the replay. So, zoom all the way back. Right, we'll do the classic runway view. Bit of a float, so we'll skip along the touchdown zone. There we go. Right. Yeah, a bit of a slightly out of line ILS, although I probably took us a bit downwind at the end there. Into the flare, idle, just holding it there. Eventually I have to lower those a little bit, and there's the touchdown. It's supposed to be idle reverse. Quite slow on that nose wheel. Could have done that slightly quicker, but that's fine either way. But there we go. So that seemed to work out, yeah. Right. E-Boss, thanks for coming. Glad you enjoyed the stream. Let us, it's not EasyJet, I know it looks like it, so let's go for this view today. We don't normally do this one. And I'm going to let you enjoy the approach over the sea onto the landing. I want to thank you all again for coming along and watching. I really appreciate it. And there we go. We will see you again in another tutorial live stream video, something on the channel soon. Lots more to come. Please do hit the like button if you've enjoyed the stream. And we will see you again in another video very soon. I really appreciate you coming. Thanks so much. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.